It's
I
nine.
know.
Rusty
Or two.
or Rusty.
Didn't.
We're live.
Okay.
All right. Good morning. I'd like to call the Public Services and Facilities Committee meeting to order. It is 9 a.m., Monday, February 9th. I'd like to acknowledge that the press and the public have been duly notified in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act. Do we have any citizens' comments?
I don't think so.
No? Doesn't look like it. Approval of the previous meeting minutes from January 14th.
Motion to approve.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Marina tenants comments. Do we have any marina people here today? And no presentations. Old business would be next. We're gonna move, actually, can I get a motion to move number 7, A and what would be B, but is numbered C, up to next on the agenda.
Make a motion to move those two items to the front of the agenda?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So we will start with our discussion with Thorn Run Partners on the federal water project authorization.
Yeah, so we have Jim Davenport
Welcome.
here with us virtually. He is with Thorn Run, and as you all will recall, they're representing both the City of Isle of Palms and the Water and Sewer Commission as our lobbyists. We have Chris Jordan here in the audience as well with us. Since really in the last 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, they have filed a WARDA authorization request for both of us, both the Water and Sewer Commission and the City of Isle of Palms. Haven't really talked about that much while we've had staff level conversations about the process. I don't think that Thorn Run has really interfaced with council in any real way on that. So I wanted Jim, if he could, to just kind of walk you through what the project is, how it works, and kind of an expected timeline and just expectations on that. So thank you, Jim, for being here. If you don't mind, if you could just kind of walk us through the WARDA program and what we're hoping to achieve through that program.
Sure. Thank you, Douglas. Nice to be with you all this morning. Again, Jim Davenport with Thorn Run Partners. Let me give you a higher level overview of what the Water Resources Development Act is first, just so you have an understanding. And the acronym is WRDA, WRDA. Congress passes, historically they had passed a WRDA pretty much every other year. There was a time period where they got away from that, but they are now back on track of doing that bill every other year, and they're moving forward with WRDA 26. The WRDA bill authorizes, and I'm going to use that word a couple of times to make sure everybody understands it completely. Authorizes, which means only gives permission for local governments to work or partner with the Army Corps of Engineers. Now, historically, the WRDA bill authorized projects that were in the Corps of Engineers mission area, such as navigation, coastal protection, harbor dredging, real large infrastructure projects that involved our nation's water bodies, dams, things like that. Back in 1992, Congress saw an opportunity to add another area into the WRDA bill that wasn't there historically, and that was to authorize the Corps of Engineers to partner up with local governments to do projects to offer assistance for sewers, drinking water, and stormwater projects. So in WRDA 1992, they authorized very few. I think there was maybe like 20 projects under the section, what was referred to as the Section 219 Environmental Infrastructure Program. And that allowed local governments to partner with the Corps to do a range of projects in stormwater, wastewater, sewer, water, so to speak. So that opportunity exists this year to get an authorization for Isle of Palms to basically broadly develop the authorization would read Isle of Palms, X amount of money for water, sewer, stormwater. So that's what we're trying to do. We have crafted the authorization to be a little bit even more broadly, to add things like environmental restoration, and I think I put in flood-proofing measures, because some of the other environmental infrastructure projects have those features. I don't know that we're going to get all those elements, but that's what we're trying to do. We're working with Senator Graham's office and Congresswoman Nancy Mace to pursue that. So, if we get the authorization, the WRDA bill will not be finished, most likely, until the end of this calendar year. So we're talking end of 2026. They always take a full year. That the Senate does a WRDA bill, and the House does a WRDA bill, and in the end they merge the two of them into one bill. So obviously it's a benefit to us to try and get the authorization on both sides, the House and the Senate, and end up with something good at the end of the day. Once the authorization is in place, then Isle of Palms, both the city side and the water and sewer department, can pursue funding for a project. Now, you pursue funding the same way you pursue a congressional appropriations, which means after you get the authorization, then we have to go back to Senator Graham, Nancy Mace, I guess, may or may not be there anymore, to seek federal funding for a project. Once, assuming we do get funding for a project, and that would now be FY28, so the earliest, I'm just thinking out loud, so the earliest we would get money would be middle of 28 to the third quarter of 2028. Then you have to, you're working with the Corps on a project. The Corps does the bidding. The Corps has oversight, but you are a partner, and it's cost shared 75-25. 75 Fed, 25 local, which is a pretty good match, or a pretty good partnership, I should say. It's a good value for you, I think. And you try it once you get in the program and kind of crack the door open, you've got better chances in the future to keep getting money. I have a number of these authorized for other local governments I represent in other states. Some of them, find it advantageous to have the authorization and they get money for it, and others, we get it authorized and quite frankly, they never pursue the funding for it because they don't want to really develop that partnership with the Corps. I will tell you the money is very competitive to get. There's not a lot of it appropriated annually. I'm going to guess it's probably 100 to 200 million nationally that gets appropriated, which may sound like a lot, but you spread that across 500 WRDA authorizations under this program, and it's not a lot. Some folks don't want to partner up with the Corps because they just find that that relationship's not going to work out well for them. I think you guys stand a better place for that because the Corps in the Charleston district is already doing these projects with the city of Charleston, so they're familiar with the program. I've already spoken to Wesley Wilson over there, and he's on board, so to speak. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. So I'll leave it there for questions.
Jim, I'm assuming there's a change in District 1 in the House of Representatives, and there probably will be. The authorization on this, does it have to be both houses of Congress, Senate and House of Representatives that you have to get on board?
No, you do one or the other. So having both is obviously a better, it gives us better chances to get it in the final bill, but one or the other. Senator Graham's office seems very positive about it already. I've had several conversations with staff over there about this particular authorization. What I think we might, I think I asked for, I don't recall what the amount was. I think I put in 50 million for the authorization. They might come back to us with like 10. And I don't want you to be worried about that because what happens is all the time, people get smaller authorizations. And once you hit the max, once you receive that funding, you just get it reauthorized for an additional amount. In fact, I had to do that with one of mine in Florida. It's about to reach its authorized amount of funding, and we got an additional 100 million for that one. That's a huge regional project in the last WARDA bill.
Jim, hi, this is Scott Pierce. How are you doing? Thanks for coming today, and I'm really excited about
Sure.
you going to get money for our infrastructure. I think this is fantastic. I understand the competitiveness. Would it help if, and I'm not sure if you're aware of this, and I don't know if Chris can either check me or tell me if I'm on or off base here, but I think that the Isle of Palms, 2.5 square miles of density that houses all of the septic and grinder pumps, I think we have 1,400 for about 2.5 square miles, is that correct?
We probably have about 1,150 septic tanks.
1,150 septic tanks and how many grinders?
Well, I think we're just a little over 240.
Okay, so roughly 1,400, we have about 1,400 combined septic and grinder pumps in a 2.5 square mile footprint. So I'm guessing we probably have one of the highest densities, if not the highest density in the country here. Secondarily, we probably have the highest volume of usage because of the hospitality and accommodations. We're a tourist group. So if you put that and then lay that on top of a sandbar, my guess is that our need might be one of the more, critical or easier to sell. I don't know if that comes into play or doesn't come into play, but could that help the legislative bodies see that we've got a little bit of a sense of urgency here?
Yeah, those are all good stories to tell. The first hurdle to get over is your Senate staff or your House staff. I think we're already over that, but any of those additional details are helpful. Obviously, Senator Graham's office and Nancy Mace's office they understand your area, so that's good. They then have to sell it to the committee. Those details are helpful for them to have as well. So we'll make sure they have those, and if there's additional details you want to share with us in an email, I can pass those along to Aaron. Once you get to the part when you're getting funding, though, it is really member-driven. And what I mean by that is, if Senator Graham wants funding for Isle of Palms for one of these projects in future years, and wants to elevate it to like one of his number 1 or 2 projects, that's what really comes into play. He's the guy that's going to go out and get it for you. So, I mean, as much of that story that you just mentioned to me that we want to talk to his staff about, I think it's valuable.
Is it also helpful to have an actual project, like the specifics of a project? I mean, like how far along that road should we be going in anticipation?
Yeah, it's so that's a great question, and Chris Jordan and I have talked about some actual projects that his side of the house has, so to speak. It's good for 2 things. Graham's office kind of wants to know what you might have in the queue, but more importantly, once we get to the funding stage, we need to be socializing those projects with the Army Corps of Engineers in the Charleston district. We need to be telling them, hey, if you help us get $5 million, we have this menu of projects that we can spend it on, next year, so to speak, hypothetically. Yeah, it's very important.
So we should be moving in that direction in hopes of getting this money in the next 3 years. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good to have, if you've got them laid out I think I've seen a couple of your plans, in like annually or even, this is the project we got to do first, and this is the second one, 5-year plan or something. And you can give that to the Corps up front. That would be very helpful, I think, to them.
Oh, that's something I think would come from Chris? Yeah.
or is that something we would be
Yeah,
doing
Chris-
together? Or
Chris
is
is-
that,
oh,
you
sorry.
guys?
Chris Jordan's
We have
here.
a master plan to sewer the island, and we're updating the cost estimates on it now. And depending on the amount of funding that we potentially might get, each basin is a little different size and comes with a different cost, so.
Chris, why don't you come sit up here? And I would just add that they have Basin N to a point where it's fully designed, been out to bid, I think. So parts of the next at least step, if not couple of steps of their plan is fully engineered and shovel-ready.
Yeah, we've got one that's ready to go right now, but then there's another 15 basins that are still, would need to be designed, bid, and
Talking Matthew.
and they come at a different cost because they're different sizes, serve different numbers of people.
So this next basin, can you just give us a 30,000-foot level of what that is and how much you're looking for?
Well, they vary because depending on what part of the island they're in, they vary in size, just kind of the way the engineer laid everything out. But, if we were to get $1.5 million, we might could put in a smaller basin. If we got $10 million, we could put in the one that we had already bid. And
Where is that?
the one that's bid and designed and ready to go was Sewering from Palm, 41st Avenue to 37th back to Cameron, and a little small piece of Hartnett on 37th. And that served a little over 90 people.
90 people?
Yeah.
And how much?
It was, the bid was right around $10 million
For 90 homes?
for 90 people.
Whoa.
So the challenge is getting the funding, from an outside source like the federal government or state so that we could keep the costs down, the connection cost for the customer. That's the goal, to keep that as low as we can.
And you said there was like some smaller basins that, like, what's an example of one of those?
Well, like we purchased that lot down on 7th Avenue where the little garden is, and that's a smaller basin, just without looking at the plan, probably $1.5 million, $2 million to put in and maybe serve 40, 50 customers. Just the
Sounds
way
like more
that
bang for the
Yeah.
buck, yeah.
So is there anything that the city can be doing? I mean, obviously, we're partnering with Thorn Run and, but other than that, is there anything that the city can be doing to help you all? And
I think this relationship is working good, just with Douglas and with Thorn Run, and just sort of pursuing, whatever financing grants or opportunities that we can find. I think we're doing a good job with it.
Yeah, and I guess I would just add that, this authorization, as Jim mentioned, is intentionally broad enough that things like we intentionally tried to have our stormwater project coincide with their basin in, is what we call it. So there are projects that we will also be trying to get, in under this authorization if we're successful.
So I guess that's the question to Jim. So Jim, this includes drainage and other aspects of our water mitigation as well, or?
That's the goal I'm going for. Ultimately, the Senate, on the Senate side, it's the Environment and Public Works Committee that writes it. I wish they'd take the way I wrote it, I'd be very happy. But I wrote it as broad as possible for Senator Graham's office, which actually spurred some questions from them to me. And I was telling them about certain features and why I wanted to do it that way. But stormwater should be a key element in there, wastewater, sewer, water. I put in, I think, environmental restoration or something like that, which means like if you had some plant structures or things that you needed to do for a variety of reasons, we could maybe incorporate that. Ultimately, though, the committee takes a hard look at them and says, here's what we can do and here's what we can't do. So I'll keep you posted as best I can on what it's ultimately going to look like. But I think we'll get the key elements in there.
Great.
Anything else for Jim?
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
thank you very much.
Yeah, can I mention one more thing that we shouldn't forget about? There's also a separate program through EPA, the State and Tribal Assistance Program. You can get earmarks through there too for water and sewer projects without an authorization. So if we had anything ready to go, they're usually smaller. They could be a couple million or 1 million or so. If you got anything small for this year, like right now, we could pursue funding for that immediately.
Not stormwater though, correct?
I think the EPA stuff is mainly, it's drinking water and it's sewer strictly.
So So what about that smaller basin? I mean,
Don't quote me on that, Douglas. There might be a stormwater element. I'll double check.
We'd have to look at the numbers, but the engineer's updating the cost estimates now because they're actually 2018 numbers, so they're
It's
a little
probably a little
dated.
higher than.
Yeah, they're gonna be a lot higher, as we found out on that Basin End project.
Jim, you probably should have checked out instead of taking one more question. Is there any possibility of, this is a great focus, but, we're short right now, several $1 million on our, you talked about working with Army Corps and resilience and things of that nature. Our beach, we're undergoing a very expensive beach restoration project and still trying to figure out how we're going to fund it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Is that something that, is there any possibility of garnering any funding for that?
So Douglas and I have talked about that too. There is already an authorization in existence that would cover you for coastal, the new term of art is coastal CSRM, coastal storm resilience management. You have to do a feasibility study though first in order to start getting actual funding for construction through the Army Corps. Feasibility studies can take 3 to 5 years. Douglas, we've talked about this when I think we were down there and so forth. That's the path forward to getting Army Corps of Engineers money for a beach project. They have to study it first, then they have to authorize what's known as the Chief's Report. And then once the Chief's Report would outline the scope of the project, and then you can get funding for construction. It is a lengthy process. It is worthwhile, though, to do it because once you're authorized, you can get emergency funding from the Army Corps. If there's a storm down there, a hurricane, so to speak, you can get emergency funding through the Corps of Engineers. But you're not authorized, or I'm sorry, you haven't had a feasibility study yet, so you don't technically have a project yet in their eyes.
Are there any other sources of funding for, I'm guessing, I think I know the answer to that, but just have to ask. There are no other sources?
I mean, is this,
Not really. For sand on a beach, you really go through the Corps. There's a smaller program called the Continuing Authorities Program through the Corps, and the max amount for a project is it's either 15 or 20 million. It's one or the other. And you do not need it. You just need an appropriation for that.
Do they have to run the project?
How short? I'm sorry. How short are you?
We're short. Our piece of it's going to be at least 20. We're short 10 from what our beach fund is right now, and that would take our beach fund down to 0. So we're short $10 million just on that aspect. I think we've got to.
Yeah.
Is that something that you could even spend a minute looking into and see if there's any money? We'd take we'll take anything.
Yeah, let me make a note about whether we could go after an earmark through the CAP program. It's cost shared as well. I think it's either 75-25 or 65-35. So
We would be able to do that. Yeah, because right now we're planning on 100% on our side. So if we could get any money from that, and we've got all of the
Okay.
documentation on the project, the engineering, it's almost ready to go. We're just waiting for some permits.
Okay, Douglas, would you all send me some information on that?
Yep.
What's that program called again, Jim? The CAP program?
Yeah, Continuing Authorities Program.
Okay.
There's like maybe 8 different sub-programs within it. I got to look at the one that's for shore protection and how it works, but it's a way to get funding from the Corps for a very small project without having to go through the authorization or the study phase. But once you reach that max of a project cost, like it's 20 million, you can't get any more money through the program.
Yeah. Right now, the estimate of and again, this is our most recent estimate for the total project is about 32 million, and we've got 10 million on public beach, so I think hopefully we can qualify.
Okay.
I'll send you all that, Jim, all that detail.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Sounds good. Sure. Thanks, everyone.
thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I'm going to hop off then, okay?
All right,
Thank you.
All right. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Chris, for being here.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, so our next item is 7C, Philip Slagle.
Yes.
ATM. Hi, welcome.
Hi, thank you. Hi.
And
Yes.
we're discussing the marina dredging project. which-
Yes, and I'll just kind of give a high-level overview of where we are, and things are pretty fluid with this, and we're at a little bit of a decision-making point that we need direction from council. So as you will recall, we have been working on the permits, and we have been issued the permits to dredge the marina. We also have earmarks in the state. Well, we have received the money from the state, $1 million to do that project. We started this project with an effort to kind of work with the neighboring property owners. This typically, when we have a dredge show up, adjacent property owners have the same need, they have the same interest, and we have tried to organize that so that we could work together. And I'll let Philip get into a little bit of the detail, but we are now on very different timelines in terms of we have permits, we have money, we're ready to go. The property owners are maybe a year or two away from being at that point. We also have, we have been having conversations with the Army Corps about the areas that we're going to dispose of the material. That also changes whether we go at it alone or if we raft together with the adjacent property owners. So all of that brings us to just wanting to have an update and really get direction from council. If you will feel the need to delay to try to work with the adjacent owners, or if you would be comfortable going at it alone for this project. So Philip with
Can you give-
ATM has been, go ahead.
I was going to say, can you give us a little bit more background on the, this sounds like a hitch your wagon kind of situation. And I don't, as you're going through this, kind of what are the pros and cons of doing this? And if we've got, and I don't know how many residents we're talking about.
Well, it's all of Morgan, is it Morgan Cove?
Morgan Creek Harbor
Morgan-
Association.
So there's probably,
There's also Dewey's. There may also be residents at Waterway Island on the intercoastal.
So it's not two, it's maybe 30 or 40?
well, I
or-
think each of those slips is individually owned. It's probably like
Well, that's-
100.
Oh, for sure.
Is that the
Yes.
Canal Association, that they call it?
No, Canal Association
Is that
is the
Goat Island
group.
only?
Yeah, that's the property owners that own
At Tabby.
they own a spoils area across the waterway.
And they came and spoke to council a while back.
That's
and-
correct.
And asked us to,
So they're the owners
No.
of one of the holding.
No, the people that came and spoke were the Goat Island people.
That's
We
what I'm
haven't-
talking about.
We haven't actually heard from the canal.
Well, that was Sandy Brotherton, who
Oh,
also was
that's
here.
right.
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
So we've
Yeah.
kind of heard from
That's right.
Goat Island residents, the Canal Association, which is the owner of one of the spoil sites.
But they're not the ones that are interested in dredging. They're the ones that have the site where the dredge would be put.
Right.
When we're talking
They-
about organizing with other residents, we're talking about Waterway Island. Most,
Yes.
and all of the
And all
whole.
Morgan Creek
all
Harbor,
of
so
the-
all the
right,
slips back
All
there.
the slips.
Yeah,
Basically,
the-
Morgan Creek up to the bridge, probably.
Right. The Canal Association purchased that DMMA across the
Right.
the intercoastal for the use of their use to place their dredge material on the canal over there. To place more material from others, third parties, the Corps has required that they expand and upgrade to address historical seepage issues at that site. So they are working as well, in addition to the permitting, which Douglas mentioned, to, with the federal and the state level, to get all those areas under permit to dredge. The Army Corps also requires that those upgrades be complete by the Canal Association to receive additional material. That has not yet started, those repairs haven't yet been started. As far as I know, they're soliciting cost estimates for that work. But that's there's a lot of different steps that whole process needs to go before that DMMA, that dredge material area, will need to go through before they're ready to receive material.
So-
What is our urgency from the standpoint of our marina? Like, is this something where we're getting to a point where, it's harder for boats to get in and out? I mean, where are we on time-wise? Like,
We haven't had a survey completed in several years now. It's been about maybe 4 years, I think, since the last hydrographic survey was conducted to see what the water depths are. I haven't talked directly with the marina to know if they're increasing complaints, but the marina does typically require dredging every 8 to 10 years. We're at that mark.
And we've got a grant. Is there a sunset on the grant that?
There is not. We do, we are constantly, and I think we're now maybe in our third year of holding that money. That's not a reimbursable grant. That's a grant. They give us the money, we report.
We've had it extended, they've extended it.
Yeah.
They approved.
So, I don't know that there's.
Is that the 1.5 million?
Is it 1.5
That's
or
correct.
1?
That's
Okay,
Okay,
state
1.5,
budget
yeah.
allocation.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I guess, I kind of feel like if we're gonna talk about whether or not we can, it sounds like if we were to decide to hold off and wait on all the other entities, we're talking 2 years, a year?
They don't think so, and,
Okay.
and that's all being, ATM is the city's consultant only. We don't represent any of these other entities, just for the record.
Okay.
The other consultant, just in our coordination, has said that, they are optimistic that if all goes well, that dredging all these other areas can happen next year, this time. But there are a lot of steps that need to happen. The benefit of doing these works together is that mobilization costs for the dredge can be quite expensive. It's very difficult to predict what those are because it depends on time of year and availability and many other factors. There's their backlog. But the intent of doing this initial coordination and why we still have this conversation is because if the entities are able to share in that mobilization cost, it can save,
Well, it
save
also
costs. But
So-
Seems to make sense that you'd want it to all be done at one time instead of having dredges out there for the next.
true.
So,
I mean, just the timing of getting the dredge in place anyway. I mean, you've only got a limited number of companies even do in that business, right?
Sure.
And the timing would be
I mean-
almost impossible to coordinate if we're doing it at
Well,
different points.
it just depends on how far spaced they are apart. There's several dredging companies that would be eligible for these works to have a plant small enough to fit back in there. So,
just kind of reference and scale, the group is talking a lot about beach dredging, offshore dredging, quantities and mobilization costs, so that's kind of their framework. This is obviously a much, much smaller operation. I think we're talking about moving 15,000 cubic yards.
probably 15 to 20, yeah. Is
So
what we
fif-
have permitted is up to 20, but probably around 15.
So, and the mobilization costs, we talk about it being expensive, but it is expensive, but not as expensive as it. So maybe $100,000, $200,000 of
And-
mobilization?
It's difficult. We would like to go and solicit quotes from dredgers. It'll be a couple to a few $100,000 we expect, based on historical projects. But it does depend on their backlog and availability and when the works are scheduled.
So if we were to, we have to get authorizations and permits from how many to, how many are we hitching our wagon to? Is it one association or is it 100
They are
people?
associations that, and I feel like it's, do you know how many permit requests we're waiting on? Are all of those other property owners under one
They are.
permit request?
They're under one permit application.
So everybody, so we're just waiting on one permit app.
That's correct. There were 2 total permit applications, the cities and then the neighbors, Morgan Creek, basically. So,
So it's not a situation where you have to go to every property owner? or
No.
anything like, okay.
No.
And-
So-
And that's how far out?
TBD.
I think they think within a year.
Hasn't been submitted though?
They've submitted their permit application. It's under review.
Okay.
And that's what you were talking about earlier, that they were optimistic that this would happen pretty quickly.
They expect that they will be able to receive their dredging permit
Uh-huh.
and also receive design approval to repair the cell across from, at Goat Island, and go through the additional Army Corps authorizations to use that site and commence dredging within a year. But there's a lot of things that need to happen, so.
These
So-
are two separate projects, so it's, ours is the 20,000, and then the residents will take on more, and we'll share, cost share, or how does that?
Right, they
how
would-
we bifurcate the cost structure, I guess, or is it all?
Right, they are probably about 80,000, 90,000
Cubic
cubic
yards.
yards compared to our 1520. So I don't think there's been any discussions yet about how that cost breaks out or how that would be shared. But surely, ideally, it would be based on your cubic yard contributions,
That's
but.
what- Yeah, I think that's where we're doing.
So-
The other I don't, kink, I guess, is we have heard from the Army Corps that because the city's amount is so small, they would be agreeable to us using the spoils site that they have just cleared out, kind of under the Isle of Palms connector. They've indicated that because they've just gone through the process of clearing that out, they would not be favorable to accepting the full amount of, if we were all to kind of work together, we're then looking at 120,000 cubic yards or so. And they've indicated that they would not have a willingness to partner if we were hitched to the other permit.
That's a pretty big wrinkle, isn't it?
So,
I mean, where would they put where would they put their 80,000?
That material would then need to go to Goat Island, to the Goat Island cell, based on what they've currently requested in their permit. So we have, I believe that other permit application requests two options, either to place the material at the connector site or at Goat Island. And so if the Isle of Palms connector site is not available to them, that would leave Goat Island. They would have to go through additional regulatory requests to add alternative sites, as I understand it. So Goat Island would be the closest and most affordable location in the view of Morgan Creek Harbor Association.
So the city's permit is not contingent on Goat Island's.
That's correct.
Getting redone.
That's correct.
yeah, I think we had 3 or 4 sites located. One, this was also predating the golf course work. They were interested potentially in the fill. So I think that one's off as a practical application. And then these two or the other,
We asked for everything on the intercoastal, on the waterway. We asked for as far down as Toller's Cove, just to make sure everything was open, available to us as a contingency. But pumping that distance is a lot more expensive, so we don't want to use those as alternatives, but.
Is it more expensive for us to pump it to the one that we're talking about at the bridge rather than Goat?
There would be more mobilization costs for that. It would be, but on the other hand, there are also fees that the Canal Association would charge the city in addition to the fees required by the Army Corps. So it's sort of a balance. It would cost more in equipment and to pump the extra distance, but there's no additional fees beyond what the Army Corps would charge.
and I think we believe that the Canal Association would defray their cost to repair that site with fees to us as well.
Those costs, like I said, haven't yet been fully determined or estimated. We expect that the Canal Association has expressed an interest in having those discussions with the city to look at what those total costs may be and to explore cost sharing.
How long would it take to get, you're talking about going out for bids or kind of, you haven't surveyed in 4 years and all this kind of stuff. Is this something that, another next meeting or 2 meetings from now, you might have more quantification around and timing around all of this so that we can look at the different scenarios with a little bit more?
We are drafting bid plans and specifications now for these works.
Okay.
We would like to, if at all possible, to have a more definition on where this material will go. That will help us get those out. We can also start that process. We haven't started any conversations with contractors yet, but that is on our list to do. Our next meeting is
Another
what is
month.
that?
Yeah,
Another month.
We have a committee meeting.
We'd have more progress by that point if we're able to go out to bid by that point, if we have the city's approval to do so. But we just need to coordinate that, yeah.
And I guess we just need to decide, is this one project or are they two, do we need to be doing 2 independent projects here? I mean, I don't know the answer to that.
Well, I think from the city's perspective, if you all felt compelled to not divide the project, not kind of separate from the property owners, there would not be a compelling reason to go out to bid, I don't think, at this point. So that would be, if you're wanting to go out to bid, I think it would be the kind of go at it alone type of operation. So that's the reason
I see what
we
you're-
wanted
Right.
direction from you all. Before we did that, we just wanted to get kind of the directional indication from you all, if that's the path you would like to go, or would you like to kind of, we're in a little bit of a wait and see posture now for these other property owners, but it's coming with more complications. We're waiting on their permits, we're waiting on the Canal Association to repair that site. So it's time, it's an additional complications on the project. So we can certainly do it, but it's becoming more complex to wait.
And the Canal Association is waiting on the Army Corps to tell them what they've got to do to repair it, right?
They've received guidance from the Corps on how to repair. They need to produce their design with their consultant to make those repairs. That would then be submitted to the Army Corps to approve.
Would it be too much to ask, I'm kind of a visual person, to just put on a piece of paper a month from now, like sort of, here's the, here's our project, here's what the association's project, here's the consolidated project.
Sure.
Here are the timelines, and here's, the big bolder work streams that need to occur and the dates that, what are the dependencies, basically, so we can see it, are we gonna get a year from now and then have to split that spoil deposit situation? We got Goat Island repair, we've got the association permits, we've got a 20/80, it sounds like 20,000, 80,000 split. We don't have a cost sharing agreement. I mean, all these things, and then the permitting timeline. Might be helpful just to maybe, I don't know if you're agreeable, just wait a month and get more information before we make a decision. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, because I mean, it doesn't sound like this is really like a time crunch
Yeah.
situation. I mean, it doesn't sound like there's a whole lot of urgency to do this. But I guess the only thing that causes me concern is if we decide to wait and go with the other property owners, are we gonna end up having to spend more money because we're having to go to a different site? Or, repair the Goat Islands, so I don't know, at first I was concerned with the timing of it, but now I feel like it's more of a concern of, are we getting ourselves into a more like complicated project if we do it with these other, so are we gaining, we're, obviously, there's something to be gained by doing this, sharing the mobilization, but is that gonna be eaten up by the other cost issues and complications? I
Along
can't-
with costs escalating.
Right.
If we're doing this 2 years from now, are we really gonna
gonna be
save
that
anything?
much
I don't,
more.
I don't
Right.
know the answer.
And do they need us? I mean, I know, again, the whole sharing of mobilization, but other than that, do the property owners need the city? I mean, does it help them to be doing this with the city?
That's the only benefit to them, right? Correct? Cost sharing on mobilization?
Generally, yes. And in the past
Isn't it like
campaign,
permits are easier to get if you're,
no, because they've applied for their separate permitting.
okay.
We have, in our discussions with the Army Corps, the only other thing I would add with that is, in our discussions with the Army Corps, is that there is still a time process for them, once we decide, and we have to pick one, pick the area where we want to place this material, the Corps then needs to go through their own internal process, which can take up to 6 months, for them to do all the paperwork internally and demonstrate that the site of choice is, has enough capacity and enter into the agreement with the city for use of that.
So if the only economies are mobilization, and we're talking a couple $100,000, and it's a 20/80, we're looking at a $40,000 savings.
Well, we don't.
It's not- we don't know.
We don't know what the we
But it's not a bit, I'm just saying, it's not, we're not,
Not
it's not like we're gonna
5
save
million.
$1 million. Or
we wanted to. The point is, we want to. That the goal is to, if we're able to go forward and put something out to bid, we'd be able to get more concrete costs that we know and can feel and touch and understand who's available, who's not. What is the burden of the city going to be? So that would be and we can include these other extras, these other ideas, and ask if we could place that material in Goat Island, if we could place that material at the intercoastal, the connector site. That's something that we've proposed and suggested to do, because there are a lot of questions about what it will cost. And get ahead of any other unknowns or constraints or conflicts.
So it'd be advantageous for us to go ahead and go out to bid and get some estimated cost and
I think that would be,
then look at all the other variables that Scott was talking about.
I think that would be helpful. I think that'd be, to add more clarity in terms of cost and timing and these sort of things, I think that would be worthwhile.
Yeah, the only
And that would be
downside.
just us going it alone.
That's correct. So, again, I mean, I think that we did not want to do that if council was to say, hey, we had a implied agreement that we would wait. This is going in an opposite direction as to how we originally talked and thought about this project. But it sounds like the group is agreeable, kind of wants additional information, potentially agreeable, but wants additional kind of refined information. I think the best way to get that is to go out to get bids, but just didn't want to do that with you all
Well, I think
thinking.
you just hinted, though, at one of my concerns, which is, are we in any sort of, whether it be an actual obligation or just a friendly agreement with the property owner? I mean, are we gonna have 20 property owners at our next meeting having citizens' comments yelling at us that we're not sharing like we said we would? I don't know that. I mean, do they care? Like,
From my perspective, there was never a commitment or an obligation. It was kind of the
Implied.
gesture, but it was probably implied, and it was implied as a potential cost savings.
Yeah, let's take a look
I
at
mean,
it. If it's a
maybe-
win, here's where I am on this, is if this is a win-win for the city and the residents, it would be great to work together. I'm not
course.
opposed to that at all. I just think we're looking for an additional data point that says, hey, what is it? The complications now with the Goat Island disposal and some of these other things are variables that weren't in place when we contemplated doing this project together to begin with. And the timing is now gone from, let's do this collectively to, hey, we might have to wait a year or two. And so.
And
those
what
are
the
very-
cost of that would be.
Exactly. So those are all variables that weren't in the, I think what we have is an exploratory effort here that says, hey, if we can work with the residents, everybody wins, let's do it. I'm not opposed to that at all, but I think getting that data, I don't see the downside of getting a bid, I guess, is my point.
I think getting that information and then also the cost projections for what the repairs at Goat Island would be and what their requirements. The Canal Association expects that cost-sharing arrangement to be in any additional fees that would be charged to the city.
That would be helpful for all of the parties involved, yeah.
and can we have some, or are we talking to, is there a royal we of the property owners?
I think Philip is talking to Chris, is their consultant.
JGT, yes.
Yeah, so I think that's really the only correspondence is happening between our two consultants at this point. And I don't know
Is
of a
that a
royal.
conversation that you can have with him and find
But
out?
they're
like,
very receptive
How much
to
are
it.
they counting, are they counting on us? And,
Again, I think they're optimistic that this project could go like it did in previous years, a decade ago, and that they would be dredged together in an effort to save total cost.
There's less disruption, and there's a lot of other reasons.
Right.
Of course, it makes good sense. But with the different allowances, the Corps has said they'll allow one thing but not the other. And we are have different priorities, and we're ahead of them in sort of time. So we proceeded sort of separately, and we've arrived at different locations at the moment. So I think, well, as I understand, we should be, according to JGT, we should be getting their costs communicated to us. But, that's a separate effort.
So,
Yeah.
and I guess this is a question for all of you, including you, Philip, would would it be reasonable to have bids, we're beginning of February, their next meeting would be beginning of March, which I'm guessing is too early, but could we shoot for this committee's April meeting to have bids back?
Oh, I think that
Or is
sounds
March-
reasonable. That sounds
If you
reasonable.
have them for March, we'll meet in March, Sure.
We'd want to go out and make sure we have all the documentation prepared and approved by the city before we release it.
April's the third.
And then give them enough time to carefully price.
So is that, everybody agreeable? We'll go to bid, but here's kind of quickly as we can with a goal of having actual prices back to this committee for their April.
Sure, I think that sounds reasonable.
And is this work that is, I'm assuming, is going to be done in the off-season?
Ideally, could be. And
So we're talking November, like if we were to get these bids and decide to go forward, we'd be talking November? Or is
Potentially.
That would, okay, like this coming November?
could be, yes.
Okay.
Should be a fairly quick, I mean, it seems like when these small operations, are we thinking 2 weeks of work? A month of work?
For the marina site, I wouldn't expect anything more than 3 to 4 weeks. It should be fairly quick. It's just the mobilization that takes time to get everything in place. So it should not be too disruptive.
All right, I think I'm hearing we'll have bids back and whatever information we can get back from JGT to you all for your April meeting.
It's a good target.
Yeah,
Are the
maybe
marina
that picture.
tenants involved in this?
I would have brought the permits.
They're
like you were
aware,
saying.
they're not terribly, well,
I mean, like timing wise and things like that, I mean, are they?
I have not had any correspondence with them.
What was the
than
question?
just-
Marina tenants?
I
are they-
haven't talked to them.
And we can do that between now and April.
You know, if they have some big thing planned for November 1st, I feel like, you know, whatever, I don't know. Probably
But
not,
that's
you never-
one,
you
but that's
never know.
one item we want to understand from the dredgers through the bid process is when their availability is.
Right.
And so it may be later in the season, they may be booked up, they may want to do it earlier. So,
Well, if we can slot into a schedule of theirs liking, it's always a little cheaper, I imagine.
that's correct.
Yeah, we were hopeful that there'd be an opportunity to use the Cottrell is out there now. But that just was their equipment's too big. Didn't realize there was a whole another 6 months of waiting for the spoil site to be authorized so there's just too many things to happen between
Right.
now and then.
They were also placing material in water down at Dewey's Inlet, and that would require a different regulatory approach than what we have permissions for, so. Thank you.
All right.
right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Thank you.
Philip.
Thanks.
All right, so now we're back up to 6, Waterway Boulevard project.
Yes, so the city staff with Thomas and Hutton and Bastion Group we've had our first meeting to organize that project, talk about the project. The Bastion Group they have submitted they've completed, I think, their submittals for their first phase of work. Those are under review with Thomas and Hutton, and I think ready to be released. The next step for us is we do have a pre-construction meeting tomorrow morning here in this room. We will talk through with them and their subcontractors the details of the project, physically kind of go out, look at all the little details that will need to be addressed. We are still waiting from them to get a schedule. So they're working on that based on their supply, their materials coming in. So that project, no hiccups, nothing really to report other than we're making good progress and expect it to start here in the very near future and expect to have at least a tentative schedule as early as tomorrow's meeting.
Do we have any sort of like mock-up of what it's actually gonna, like the pathway is going to look like? I just,
The plans show it,
okay.
you know, and they
Like
show.
how wide
kinda-
it's gonna be?
Yes.
Does it have a bike and walking? These are questions I'm getting.
You're looking for the virtual ride down the path?
Yeah,
that's what
yeah.
we do
No,
these
it's
days.
very the plans that we have are very much engineering style plans. It does call out all of the widths, separations, all those kind of things.
But there's no mock-up of
There's not a-
how the path looks and,
Yeah.
yeah,
Not really a mock-up.
Okay.
yeah.
But it's a multi-use path, right?
Yes.
So it will be for biking and walking,
Yes.
running, whatever.
Yeah, the path itself is not intended to be used or really any different than the current path. There's no change of use anticipated. It is getting widened by virtue of the project. So it's going to be wider. Parts of it are going to be elevated, as you all know, for the flood mitigation aspect of it. But really, in terms of the use, there's no intended change of use in the path.
Except that it's actually gonna be usable.
It will be usable, will not be,
It will be less of a high hurdle, just run.
yes, yeah, less root inundation and all of
Yeah.
that, so it will be flat, not rippled.
I mean, so what is the width, do you know?
I
Is
think
it
it's 8 feet,
Okay,
but there is a requirement that it be at least 3 feet off the edge of the pavement. So there are places where it does vary in width, but it was intended to be 8 feet the whole way.
cool.
ADA accessibility,
Yes.
Good.
Yep.
All in,
Okay.
yeah.
Good question.
and Katie had asked last month about the possibility of extending the path, you know, through that zone there, and you were gonna get some information. I don't know if we had time to do that or
Yeah.
not. To go down
We have
towards
talked
Marina.
about it. We have not, there's not really there's not a plan or, so let us talk with the contractor about that tomorrow.
Okay.
Drank too much coffee this morning.
Anything else on that, Scott? You good? Okay. You good on the waterway? Excited? Excited for the meeting tomorrow? Progress? All right, now, next we have beach projects. I feel like
Seems to be all we talk about, but I will
I don't think
say.
this horse is
yeah,
beaten.
Really, the, other than all of the kind of background work that's been taking place it's been kind of all-consuming here for the last month, but concrete, kind of progress is being made on awarding. At the last time you all met, Foth Olson had not been awarded that contract to do the alternatives analysis. They now are engaged for that, so we're excited about that. Happy to answer any questions about beach projects, but I feel like that's also the world that you all live in, so you're probably also
It
up to
seems to
speed
be the
on
world that the public lives in. too.
everybody. Yeah, it's all consuming for sure.
I have one quick one.
Sure.
And it's just bubbling up, and we don't need to go into any detail now, but we're getting a lot of input on the Hamlin Creek impacts. And I don't know if that's something that the beach committee can take a look at.
Yes.
But we're getting emails, we're getting, I think there's a collective of 20 or 25 or 30 homes along that creek. Too bad they couldn't hitch the wagon and dredge that out
Yeah.
too, but I'm not gonna go there. But that's something I think we gotta get on our radar a little bit and just understand what's happening.
Yes, and that is something that we would expect the beach committee to look into. We've talked, and I guess the meetings run together a little bit, but it was either at the council, probably at the council meeting, where we talked about the fact that potentially that is a inexpensive source of sand for the city to add to places on the beach that we need sand. I do think the city, through that beach committee, will look into that. There's going to be some surveying, some soil sampling costs to do that, but I think it's a fairly quick turnaround on getting an idea of whether or not that sand could go to our beach, and we could figure out if it could be done in a cost-effective manner. I think if we have indications that it can, I do think the city would be very much interested in pursuing that. If we find that it can't go on the beach, if it's, muddy material, then I think that would change things for the city's participation. But we will talk through that with the Beach Preservation Committee and hopefully at least find out those couple of things, which will help us decide how to move that forward.
Is that also something that Foth Olson would be looking at in their recommendation? I know they're dealing mainly with recommendations on potential hard structures, but
Yes, that would not, that's going to be a standalone, a different project from all that we've already kind of
Yeah, I don't know.
tasked our,
Yeah, I don't know about that, though, because one of the to-dos when we were on the beach committee, I think we asked specifically in that scope of their review, the whole, is the breach inlet Hamlin Creek contributing to that? So I don't know geez, it would be great to have a couple sets of eyes on that thing, but I think we could talk to them and say, hey,
Yeah.
take a look at that, too.
yeah, I don't think it's going to be in the scope of what they've agreed to do, but, I think they certainly would be agreeable to informally looking at it, giving us a proposal if we, I think the questions are, from our perspective, are whether or not it's beach compatible. If it's not beach compatible, I think it tells us it didn't come from our beach. And if it is beach compatible, it would potentially help us.
Put it back on the beach.
Yeah.
So is there anything else?
You'll hear more.
I'm sure we'll be
like,
talking more beach
Yeah.
stuff.
Tomorrow. It's,
Nothing that we need
Nothing
to
for this
get
committee.
into today?
no.
Which brings us to the methodology of financial cost sharing. I assume that's regarding the work up at Wild Dunes.
Yep. Deborah, why don't you come on up and join us the next couple.
And that's, and then funding options for beach renourishment, and then
The agreement.
the agreement with Wild Dunes. So, all three next items are kind of
Yep.
all
So this
encompassing.
first one, 6C, this, and to kind of, to talk through why this is on the agenda. We were trying to get to a cost-sharing agreement with Wild Dunes. We were trying to choose different scenarios. The scenario that was kind of generally agreed to was a 53-47 cost share. The condition was put, again, meetings start running together, but I think that was a council meeting. The condition on that was put on vetting and verifying the data that created that cost share agreement. We have shared, and we've shared the data that we had to create that cost share with one caveat, and that we cannot share individual revenue declarations by business license holders. So what we've done is we've provided an Excel spreadsheet that had each license, whether it was in Wild Dunes or out of Wild Dunes, their declared gross on their business license, but we've eliminated the columns that had the property address and ownership to not run afoul of releasing financial information. So we've done that, and I think in your packet is the summary of that, I believe.
it is the analysis of the
Yes.
Beach Preservation Fee Fund.
And then, like I said, we do have the data set that can be open and analyzed by anybody that would like to do so, of the business license accounts that went into making that determination.
So can I just a couple of comments on this. So I guess, and this is going to go into, I think, impacting the MOU, just so we're all on the same page. This is a point in time. It's business, it's self-declared revenues. It's nothing to do with what's actually going into the ATAX fund at all. So they're just completely decoupled. We got to make that.
That's
I think,
correct.
clarification, because the agreement doesn't say that. And I think we all need to know what we're relying upon. We're relying upon self-declared STR license revenues from whoever's submitting that license. And it's a, trust me, number. And it's based on the number of December 17th, 2025, which is what the schedule is.
The calendar year, well, it was the entire business license pool for 2025.
As of December 20, this says as of December 17th, 2025, on the schedule.
That's on the left.
Yeah. And the reason, we had $2.1 million going to the. Go ahead.
Just pause on that. I think that this should, and Deborah, this is a question. I think this pool is every license holder for business license year 2025. So I think it should be an entire year of business license data. Because if it was December, that would be the majority of a year, but probably 80%.
Well, our STR license year doesn't line up with our fiscal, or it's a April.
Yeah, this should be on a complete license year.
License year.
Not a half a license year, which if it was December data, it would be kind of an incomplete license year.
Let me double check that.
Okay.
I don't know if
That's a
that's
good point,
just as
Scott.
the date that I did it, or if it's truly cut off the license year. So I'll double check that.
Well, either way, I'm not really as concerned about that. And then just the other thing is we had 2.1 million in a fiscal year going to our ATAX beach fund, and this adds up to roughly 1.8. So and here's kind of where I am on this. I think we've acknowledged we don't have the revenue assurance capabilities to go down to the property level at this point in time to understand how much is actually being contributed to the fund. But when we refer to, if we're going to use this schedule for allocating, and I'm, kind of out of time, and if this is what everybody's comfortable with, we just use the cost allocation. I just think we better be really clear in the agreement, because it's a one-time snapshot, and that Waldoons knows what it is, we know what it is, and that we document. I would even suggest that maybe this goes in the agreement as the schedule of how, this is how we came up with the number. Because and you can go back and check, but we want to refer to what the allocation methodology is based on what it actually is where I kind of am.
Yeah, I mean, if I understand what you're saying, you're not as much concerned with, I mean, obviously we want the numbers to be as accurate as we can get them, but it's more the concern that somewhere down the road, someone says, oh, well, I did the math this other way and I can get this other number. So
Right.
as long as the agreement
Right.
says that this is how we did the math,
We're just sticking a stake in the ground and
Then
saying, hey,
that's
you know
how we
what,
do
for
the
this one,
math.
we're good. Yeah.
Right.
This is how we're going to allocate, because then that's going to go into that's going to cascade right through the rest of the agreement.
Yeah, that's correct.
and I
So-
mean, I don't have a problem,
don't-
if that's
Yeah,
what you're saying,
That's what I'm saying.
to me, I think that's the best we can do.
right. We can't go back and recalculate at this point.
Yeah, the basis in the agreement is, the parties agree this percentage in 2025 was 47%. So it does just say, it doesn't spell out exactly, it's from this pool of data, from this year, from these dates, so we can.
That's in the
Yeah,
proposed
the
MOU.
basis.
Yes.
The basis description is not accurate, I guess, where I'm at. And I think what I would suggest is it's based on this thing, and then
Yeah.
just put it in the agreement
Yeah,
as an
just a little
attachment.
bit more
Yeah.
So
information.
3A will add some detail and then attach this spreadsheet.
Yeah.
And we
Because, I mean,
will-
I can't think of another way of doing it, but, you never know. Someone
well,
else may come along and say,
It just, I mean,
Do
it
they
begs
have-
other questions on our ability to be able to do revenue assurance function, but that's a whole nother conversation. I think for this purpose, let's just.
Yeah.
let's just-
Well, there are always, to Scott's point, there's never going to be a a match to match for the 2 million that we report on our financial statements versus this schedule because of the timing of when the license year is different than our fiscal year. So there'll always be a mixed match
Right.
there.
And this does include the hotel,
It does.
Correct,
so.
it does.
There's also a note on here, some short-term rentals report no gross income.
That is correct.
Yeah, how many approximately, Deborah?
We did
You-
have that, well, we,
It's about 10 maybe, because they're in their light, some of them are new, and so they haven't had any revenue yet. And I'm not sure how, I guess they get the minimum, they get the basic amount for
So
the
we're
fee.
talking less than a dozen.
I think it
It's
might
less
be-
than that?
I think it's more than that.
More than,
Yeah.
more than,
There's a schedule that we've had that shows the stratification, like 0
Yeah.
to 5,000, 0 to 1,000, and
I
that-
think
It's a
I
lot.
think that tier is like 0 to 20. It's something like that, but we definitely have those that report nothing to almost, to a very low amount.
They're
And
just
it's a-
holding a license, but not.
Not a
not
real,
doing any rental.
and it seems like it was a
It's
pretty
more than
good-
10?
I think it's like a couple hundred
Of 0?
that are less, no, not
Oh.
that are 0, but that are between kind of
Gotcha,
0
gotcha.
and 20,000. A low bar of activity.
Yeah, and we had talked, and never mind, let's just move on. Well, that's another conversation.
So it sounds like and we're kind of getting into 6D, but for 6C, that information is in the packet. Sounds like the group is agreeable.
I think we got to go with what we got.
Yep, and we'll update, and this is 6E,
E,
but we
yep.
will update 3A in the agreement to include a more detailed description of what that, where we got the 5347, and then actually attach an exhibit, a
Yeah.
second exhibit.
Okay.
And yeah, I think it needs to get described as what it is, not
Yeah.
not an actual A tax allocation.
Yep, will do. So
Has
60
this,
oh, sorry.
so where, this draft agreement, where are we, has this come back, has it gone to Wild Dunes, is it?
It has not officially. It's in your packet. It's obviously public information at this point. You want to talk about 6E now, or you want to go with the agreement?
Yeah, I mean, might as
Or do we-
well
Okay.
stay on
Yeah.
that for now.
Okay.
So, yes, this agreement is, we just got it back from the legal review team, I think Thursday or Friday. It is, the basis for this was the escrow agreement that the city used in 2018 with Wild Dunes. So that was kind of the original outline of the agreement. There's been a lot that's different because to account for the details of this specific project. It's coming to you all first. Wanted to get just kind of an initial reaction before we officially sent it to the Community Association for their legal review. It's not at a point of being executed, so it's not that we expect you all to kind of approve it today, but wanted to start socializing it a little bit so you had eyes on it, had familiarity with it. And again, our next steps, once we kind of generally have consensus that it looks decent for a first draft, is we would send it to Andrew and the Community Association for their feedback as well.
How do you want to do this? Do we want to go through?
Yeah, you want to, that probably would be easiest for us if you just go through it.
Yeah. Thoughts, concerns?
I got a few notes here. When we're defining the city's work, I think there's a couple of different descriptions of city work in here, and it's just a consistency thing. And this kind of goes to A. I think you've got it in here. It's all the consulting and soft costs. And I think where I was going, we're kind of going in broad stroke here is there's a little bit of a, I don't know if you want to call it inconsistency throughout about what's in the scope of work that we're going to share.
And I think it would be helpful to sort of have because we talk about some conditions precedent in some cases, so I don't know if that goes to, is the agreement that we signed in December a condition precedent that is going to get excluded? Or are the soft costs that, like all of Steve's work, and all the other work that goes along with it, the permitting and all the other expenses going forward, are they included? And my suggestion would be that we, outline exactly what we believe we have that $22 million number in here, what we believe is in there. And I don't know if we not only put that schedule in there as another exhibit so that we're all on the same page of what's in and out, but that's what I would suggest. But also, is it a date going forward? Because I think that, the condition precedent about taking bags off the beach, those bags were there. I don't believe that should be in the cost. So that, I think, is a correct statement. But that, where we say we're excluding conditions precedent, we're not really describing, costs that are being either committed or spent as of a certain date. So that's in like 1C. And in 1A, 1C, I think it would be good if we could put an exhibit in there, what's in the cost. And I guess next, and maybe it's a 2A. If you look at 2A, we could just put a schedule in there, another exhibit that says what's in that, what is contemplated in that 22 million.
Yep, and I do think there was the, so we didn't anticipate that kind of schedule of the overall project to be included as an example in here, as an exhibit. So I think we were tracking on the same thought there. But we'll verify that it is. And I will just say, for kind of overview, it was our intent, first of all, to define the city's work as only being the work in Wild Dunes. So that was hard for us to, because obviously there's a whole nother project that
You did that
happens
with
on
the
the south end.
Reach 3.
You did reach 1, 2, yeah.
Yeah, so
Reach
we
one,
tried
two.
to exclude anything that has to do with Reach 3 from the agreement, tried to make that
That
clear.
makes sense.
And we noted that, or you noted that on 1B,
Yeah.
Yeah, the,
1BC.
and the other, did we get another? Oh, yeah, we got BC in there.
Yeah.
Another kind of principle was we wanted to include soft costs, but not those that were already agreed to by the city outside of the purview of this major renourishment project. So things like the sandbag work that was done without any involvement from the community association or Wild Dunes. So our intention is for that to be completely excluded. But things like construction administration during the project, we wanted that to be included as a soft
Right,
cost.
so we
That's-
have project cost numbers, I think, and so though, like, the thing that got approved for the CSE in December, that would apply to this project.
That's
But if we
correct.
did an emergency sandbagging, not included.
That's exactly
And
right.
so I think we just need to define that so
Yeah.
that everybody's on the same page.
Yeah,
Just one other thing to consider too that we don't get into is that we're allocating, I think, the cost based on total project cubic yards is what we've been doing. So in other words, if we're kind of, they are separate, but they're together, like on the mobilization's a huge component of this. And I think what we decided was we were going to allocate the mobilization cost based on, if Wild Dunes getting 2/3 of the cubic yards, then 2/3 of that mobilization cost goes to them. 1/3 goes, it's exclusively on the city's burden. And I think we better kind of outline what that methodology is on the cost allocation in here. We didn't do that. And the reason being is sand's shifting. And I know we're not going to get down to the cubic yard, but we just, the last version that Steve put up there dropped 160,000 cubic yards off the south end. Then if we're not getting, if the city's not getting that much sand, then that would push more mobilization cost up to Wild Dunes. So I think we need to make sure that when we're.
that a kind of post-project, or I guess a
Well, that's the question, is when is that gonna happen? Because if,
Yeah, we're gonna contract based on a cubic,
That's
that
correct.
settlement of a cubic yard, and I think we just need to make sure that everybody's on the same page. And by the way, if Wild Dunes says, you know what, we only need 800,000 cubic yards, and the south end needs 800,000, the city's gonna pick, it's gonna be a 50-50, it's gonna shift south.
Right.
So I think that allocation methodology is not spelled out in here, and that's gonna be a critical lever as to who ultimately is paying for what.
so just the mobilization costs will be.
I think it's
determined-
it's
or will
everything,
be-
soft costs. and-
Yeah, all soft costs would be determined based on the actual
Cubic
cubic
yards.
yards.
I think
And
soft
so,
sand.
but that is something that is gonna have, so how does that work though? Because that's something that actual number won't be known until it's over.
Well, we will have
So we'll
the,
have
the
the-
contracted amount, and we'll talk, that's a good thing for us to talk through. We'll have the contracted amount, which should spell out in the contract that there's gonna be X cubic yards on the north end, X cubic yards on the south end. So we can execute the agreement, get the amount, the appropriate amount in escrow, and then we will have a method to validate cubic yards actually placed. So then it could be that we re-square after the event, once we know the actual allocations placed in each area. The two should be the same, but
Right.
Yeah, and that's a good segue. Katie's raising the point. I made a comment in here too, and, I don't know that we're gonna go right down to the cubic yard. That might be problematic, but at what point do we have threshold where there's a change order? So let's say Wild Dunes is doing, 1.2 million, and they decide, you know what, or we all collectively decide it needs 1.4. How do I don't think there's any contemplation of change orders, which will likely happen, I think, in this MOU. And who's gonna be representing Wild Dunes, and at what threshold do we need to institute a change order? That goes, back to council, or just make sure that we have that process in here. It doesn't have to be a lot of verbiage, but just
Yeah,
addressing
who's
change
actually
order.
in charge? Who's gonna be, are we the decision-making
And maybe,
body?
or maybe up to a point,
I thi-
Douglas and Andrew, you get together and say, hey, we're good, if it doesn't impact by this amount of money or
Yep.
whatever. But at some point, we need a threshold where if there's gonna be a change order, which it likely will be.
yeah, that's a good thought.
Any other
So
thoughts on
attach
this?
that, let me just go through I have 5 kind of edits, let me just keep these. Attach the financial schedule that shows an example of how we arrived at these numbers. Clarify that the costs are spread across the share of sand, that all costs are based on the
Cubic
share
yard
of-
allocation.
Cubic yard allocation. I have add a detail if necessary to clarify kind of pre-project sand allocation versus a verified post-project sand allocation, and have a method to adjust if necessary, if exactly what gets placed is different than
Yeah,
what's.
that's kind of different what I was, I just think that otherwise we might get really wrapped around the axle as to counting the actual cubic yards. It's just more of a change order. If the contracted amounts change, then we just need to have a methodology to authorize and do that
So
change
then
order.
I have change orders as a separate one. You're
Yeah.
thinking those
I
are
think they're kind of wrapped
in-
together,
in
yeah.
the- in the same. Okay.
And maybe an exhibit of what the 22 million includes, and
Yep, I got that.
Okay.
And then 3A is my other one, to clarify that 3A, add some detail to 3A on figuring out the 53-47 split and what the basis for that split was, and spell it out in detail.
Yep.
Anything else that you all saw?
So it does say that the city is incomplete. control, basically.
Yes.
Yeah,
So-
and it is, I mean, at the end of the day, this is our project. We'll
Right.
be the ones kind of coordinating the project with.
So how quickly can those changes be made and then get this in front of
I got a couple
WDCA?
more. Sorry. Where were we? So item 3, or 2A talks about what the cost is, and then, and it looks like we're kind of firm on the agreement, firm on the split, and then 3B says we're capping it, but then, and maybe this is an explanation the attorney needs to say, but then we get into 3C and start talking about additional costs. So I'm not sure if we're fixing this, or there's a little, just maybe check, I think might be a little bit of ambiguity. So are we contemplating kind of a fixed contract with change orders, or are we fixing, or is it fluid? Because the item 3C kind of adds a little bit of fluidity into the numbers and how we're doing it. That might just be a question, Douglas. We
Yeah.
don't need to spend a lot of time on that one.
Yeah, so that, the purpose of 3A is if we, if we had this agreement attached that shows whatever it is, 1.8 million cubic yards, we get bids back, they're beyond what we can both afford. We wanted the flexibility to be able to each group go to their board or their council and say, okay, with our $32 million, we can only afford to move 1.3 million cubic yards. So we had hoped that we were hoping this agreement would be in place and agreed to before we actually get bids back, but we wanted there to be flexibility if the bids came back too high to dial those back.
Okay.
But we can check that that's what 2C actually accomplishes.
These are just a couple of other quick ones to consider. I didn't see anything in there about dispute resolution. It says we are under the South Carolina laws, but it doesn't say anything. Are we going to, I don't know, we arbitrate, have a couple people to get, I didn't know if that clause should be in here if there is a dispute. Definition of what's complete. We talk about completion, but I'm not sure we define what constitutes project completion.
It's a good point.
And then,
So several things will go for years. I mean, we'll monitor it for years, so that's a good point.
and then, they're off the hook to contribute, or either way. And then just, I don't know how we're gonna do the transparency part of it, the bid, the cost reporting, and we already talked about change order threshold. So I guess cost reporting, we'll be doing cost reports monthly or something to that effect, so that the escrow flows and.
Yeah, somewhere, I remember it talking about having kind of all bills, invoices, and payments being open to them. But we'll check that.
That was it. Sorry, Rusty, go ahead. We're looking for a timeline.
Yeah, what's our?
So these, I think, we should be able to get these done this week, have the legal guys review that. So I think, by the end of the week, we should be able to have this over to Andrew for review.
Cool.
Good.
And again, there will be some kind of back and forth, so this
Right.
won't be the last time you'll see it.
And then we'll bump it up to council at some point?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, my hope would be to have a somewhat kind of vetted agreement at the council meeting at the end of this month.
So then that takes us to funding options for beach renourishment. We keep hearing about this $10 million shortfall,
Well,
which,
did I I had hoped to put, oh, it is.
The loan, yeah, the
Yeah.
loan scenarios were in here.
We must
Yeah.
have, we hopped backwards. I think. So Deborah, do
The
you?
headline of the Post and Courier made it sound like we just flat out couldn't afford it, but
Well, I was missing. One of them was 10 million missing, so that was glad it wasn't.
Missing?
yeah,
Yeah, that was maybe Channel 5. That was a TV.
yeah.
Oh, wow,
Missing
I
10
didn't-
million.
I didn't,
Yeah, it sounded like we
I
had
might have
lost
been out of
it.
town for that one.
It just was hidden under a rock or something. So it's not that bad, but
Yeah, so Deborah has gone back and she has been talking with David Cheatwood and some lending institutions about kind of the various scenarios of either borrowing the money for different durations, different amounts, versus paying cash again, we're talking about the 10 million that we don't have currently in the beach preservation fund. So Deborah, you mind talking them through, I think it's pages 8 in the packet.
And 7, yes.
7 and 8.
7 and 8. So I did 2 scenarios, one with the city borrowing the deficit of what we don't have in the beach preservation fund, and that's $10,300,000. And that scenario shows us if we borrow the money for 5 years at 4%, that shows where the city will have $2.3 million of debt service per year. And the next block is for 7 years at, the first block is 5 years at 3.75% interest rate. The second block is 7 years at 4%. And the third block is 10 years at 4.25%. And this just shows the different scenarios of how much debt the city would incur per year under the debt service number with interest and principal. The schedule also shows if the city does go into debt, how much it would, and the city gets a GO bond at these particular interest rates, how much it would cost the taxpayer per $1 million of their assessed value of their
So
home.
Deborah, if you had for example, a resident that has just say $1 million assessment, if I'm reading this, it's $272 per year, but it would be for 5 years, so you take that times 5, and that would be the cost that the taxpayer would pay.
The additional cost,
Right,
that
for
is.
towards the beach renourishment, so 272 times 5, you're looking at $1,400.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And can I ask a quick, the interest rates, I'm no municipal bond expert, but those rates, are those quoted from David, or are these?
These are from David. This is what he projects as a financial, as the.
Really? Okay, these seem
Yes.
high, but, yeah.
Yep.
I would
the-
think that, yeah, I thought muni rates were a lot lower than that, but.
Yes, these are the rates that came directly from him based on the, and he said it really doesn't matter how much, the dollar amount, borrowing dollar amount really doesn't matter. It's just the terms that matters. And so the second schedule kind of does the exact same thing with the city borrowing 5.4 million instead of, might as well say $5.5 million
Just
instead of the
curious, where
10.
did that number come from, the 5.5?
So what I did to make because we're using a new budgeting model, I just changed the percentages in the budgeting model to be able to just get a number instead of doing 5, because all of these are driven off of the model. And so when I did that, it's just a change in the percentage.
I'm not sure I
From-
follow, but change of
So-
percentage.
So our new model has, like, Wild Dunes paying a certain percentage. Then the city covers the rest of the percentage. And then a percentage being covered by grant, which is the $1.5 million. So in that model, because everything feeds through that first page, I just changed what Wild Dunes would be capturing and what the city would be capturing, just to get a number instead of plugging a hard-coded number in there.
So it would have been, it was the nearest
Yes,
whole
to the-
percentage
to the-
that got you to 5 million.
That's correct.
If you dropped it 1%, it would have been
Right.
or it would have been a percentage
Yes.
instead of a.
It's just for
Full.
illustration, not that the city would borrow any of it, but it's just for illustration purposes.
Can we, I think this is this on the workshop for tomorrow too?
Yes, it is.
Okay, just, you don't have to do it for tomorrow, but when we go through this, it would be nice to know what are our underwriting costs too? The actual cost of floating the note, because we gotta pay for that too, and I think they run, I don't know.
Right. Well, we're averaging about 100,000 for
Yeah.
the cost for these.
That sounds about right. And that's not in the loan now?
That's not in the
That's
loan
on
amount,
top.
no.
Okay. So I guess we're gonna have to make a decision on borrow or hit our funds or some kind of combination, and
Yeah, so I guess, I mean, so our choices here are borrow all 10, borrow half.
Bar
or
none.
Borrow none. I mean, that's,
well, and here, yeah, the implications of that are, and, I mean, the information that we're getting is being, it's helpful, but if we showed that we don't borrow, then this conversation about the 10-year capital plan becomes a whole different conversation.
I was noticing that this dovetailed nicely
Yeah,
into
it
the
did.
next conversation.
Because we got a budget request on our capital programming plan across the board that we won't have any money in our funds to fund it. So we gotta figure out what we're gonna do.
So talking about the borrowing though, so if we, let's just say we borrow 10 million, where does that put us if we need to go, and let's say we do it for 10 years, and 5 years from now, we need to borrow money for something else, are we running out of
No.
potential debt, or where are we?
Borrowing power.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Credit
we,
rating.
we will not be
We
running out.
maxed out our credit cards, so to speak.
No,
Rolling off,
I
that's
had
rolling off, don't we?
I had another sheet, I don't think I included it, but I think right now, just from my memory, the city can borrow up to $22 million comfortably, based on the last audit, with no, without losing, borrowing power, and that's the 8%. I had it somewhere, I don't know where, but
Okay.
that's the
So
8%
even if we went with the full 10, we'd still have a cushion of,
borrowing power, yes,
We have
yes.
some outstanding now, but I think what would also maybe be helpful, Deborah, is I think we've got some rolling off.
We do have a payment, we made our last payment in January, but we're also, and I think, we're also looking at doing a lease purchase for the truck, which would kind of replace that one.
And that's not a mill increase.
That's not,
Is that
no.
mill increase, the one that's rolling off, is that a mill reduction for taxpayers that might be?
Right, I'm gonna have to
able to
double
cover
check. I'm
part?
not sure if that was debt or lease payment.
Okay, so
I'll
then we can
double
look
check.
at, it might be less of an, I don't think anybody's gonna be excited at all about
Borrowing.
borrowing.
Right.
But
if we can
it's
say
a
that
scenario we gotta
yeah.
put up.
Show where it's offset, where you.
Deborah, that is a sheet that, when those last payments are due for each. We have that all in one sheet, don't we?
Yes, we have
we
that
can
all-
provide.
in all-
I feel like I've seen that.
Yeah, It's
It's
kind
a-
of and it doesn't have to be done by tomorrow, but I think a taxpayer impact, what do you think, Rusty, about, what's coming off and what might come on and?
Exactly.
Well, that was the Fire Station 2. That was a GO bond, so that should have affect the debt service. The one that rolled off, but I
Will
can do-
not affect, or it
It
will?
should, because it was a GO bond.
Okay.
So I'll look and see what, how that, but that was,
And whenever we go out to borrow, do we add the mill to the taxpayer, or are we covering some of these with internal funds, or do we know the answer? I don't know.
some of them are covered with internal funds. Not all borrowing requires increase in tax payments. And this one,
So
and
that-
this one
so those
doesn't
numbers
either
we're
if it's,
looking at-
I'm
at the-
sorry.
Sorry, so the numbers, the per 1 million taxable property value residents, the, 272. So that's not an actual increase that someone will see on their bill, or it is?
In this illustration, yes, it would be.
Okay.
But not all debt that the city borrows is a tax increase.
Oh,
And this actually, if the beach fund was healthier, the beach fund could cover some of this debt. It just wouldn't accumulate, any more money. It could pay its own debt. And the taxpayers wouldn't have an increase on that either, but then there would be no money for future projects, which is, of course, another whole discussion, because
So Deborah, these rates are dependent on increasing the millage to offset. They have to get these rates, we have to have a
no. To
corresponding.
get these rates, no, we don't.
We might,
They're going to be, these rates are going, based on the interest rate, they're just based on
We get that
What is it?
interest rate whether we adjust the millage to offset it or
right.
not.
And this is not actual, this is kind of just estimate of where the city would land. But no, the city does not have to even increase if
Yeah.
the beach fund can cover this.
can we just validate that with David? Because I think, and I may be off, but I think a GO bond that's secured by a mill increase versus one that's not might, if I were on the buying side of a muni bond that didn't have a revenue stream attached to it, a designated revenue stream, I might require a higher interest rate. I don't know it just might be worth asking the
I
question.
felt like we
I-
had that conversation.
I had that conversation, let me find the email that says, he said that
It's regardless of whether we do a mill increase or not.
the interest rate? Or what are you asking?
These interest
Securing the
rates.
interest rate without a bill increase.
is this interest rate tied to,
A mill increase?
yeah,
It is not.
But if we don't do a mill increase, we're not going to have, we'll
where's the
still be
money
in the same
coming-
place.
Right, where's the money
Yeah,
coming from?
you would need to establish some type of revenue from somewhere, otherwise,
We're
the beach fund is
there's no
just gonna
point-
continue
well,
to,
and
yeah.
Also, there's no point in taking out the debt if we're just gonna take it out of our general fund, right? Then we just pay for it.
Right, you're just spreading out the debt instead of taking it all one time.
So, what we're looking at here in real numbers is if we take out $10 million of debt, then if we do it over 5 years at 4%, at 5 years for $1 million of taxable residents, we're talking about a $272.66 increase on someone's tax bill. Is that?
Per million.
Per million.
Per million.
Per
Per million, yes. Could be more if
Could be
its
more,
house
could
is
be
more
less.
than a
Right.
million, yeah.
And that would be for 5 years.
So that would be, that
For the duration.
$272 for each year for 5 years.
Per million.
Right, and then if you go to the right, that's an easy one. You got 10 years at $152. That's a $1,520 contribution.
Okay, this is the email from David. The other option is issuing a general obligation bond under the city's 8% debt. With this structure, you are pledging your taxing power as opposed to the Beach Preservation Fund. However, you can use your Beach Preservation Fund as well as any other revenue to pay it back. You're just using the more secure / creditworthy GO structure to get the bank to bid and a better interest rate. Based on your 2025 audit, your 8% debt limit is $28 million, and the remaining outstanding GO bond debt that counts against that limit is $5.7 million after making your spring 2026 payment, leaving your current capacity of at least $22 million. So you could comfortably issue $10.5 million and still have sufficient capabilities for future projects, as well as emergency situations.
Can I ask you to go back to him when he used the word pledge at the very beginning, just to,
just I think we just want to make sure that we're not pledging, he's talked about pledging the tax base or the beach fund. Just to make sure that we're not, if he's talking, pledging it internally for us to put the money against versus actually pledging it to the financial institution to secure the revenue stream. Hopefully it's the latter, or it's the first that we don't have to, but, yeah.
So specific, Scott, you're asking, is there a required millage adjustment? Is that what he's using the word pledge to describe, or is it just our?
Yeah, and general
Commitment.
obligation bonds, usually you're paying out of a general fund, but it would just be helpful to
Yeah.
know for sure.
We'll ask
So that
him
we
that.
don't go down a path. Or, the fund balances that we have, maybe it's okay either way. What are we, AA plus, I think, rating?
Yep.
Yeah, I think GOs usually come out of general funds, you may not have to pledge. Okay.
Do you want us to, so I have 4 things kind of jotted down for response or follow-up. Include the underwriting cost, and I'm not sure where we would, we'll find a place
Let's just
to.
know that, yeah. I think that's more of an informational, because we got
Yeah.
a budget for that too.
The borrowing power impact, so that's really David's email about the room we have under our $22 million ceiling, it sounds like. The schedule of debt that gets retired, what gets retired when, and then this question of the requirement of a offsetting millage adjustment from David. Those are
The other,
was there
last
anything
one,
else?
I just think a taxpayer impact, if it's a per year and then total, will help. I think people, if
An
we're
example
even
of what
going
we-
down this road, we need to make sure everybody knows what, don't you think? Yeah.
So that would, I know we've done previously, like, a range of assessed values or appraised values. Is that what you're saying?
Well, if you
Scott?
just do the per million, so let's just say and you
Yep.
could write it, this is a simple schedule, it says per million in the 5-year for, I'm using the 10 million.
Yep.
You got 5 years times, the annual is 272.66 and the total is times 5. And
Oh,
then
gotcha.
And then the 203.66 times 7 and. the
So
20
total overtime
Yeah,
adjustment.
just so they know how much
Yep.
each person's contributing to this situation we're in, if that's. I think what you'll find is that the front beach assessments are gonna be greater, so they'll be paying more, but that's not gonna help somebody in the middle of the island who probably isn't excited about paying for the beach reimbursement.
There's no $1 million houses on Front Beach.
Yeah, no, I know, but they'll be, I'm just saying, they'll take their
Right.
assessment and multiply it by that assessment times 10,
Yeah.
and that's what their piece is gonna be.
So,
A $10 million home will be 10 times these numbers.
yeah. So in terms of the actual cost of, and I guess this is kind of a philosophical question, for a property owner, you have this cost of, let's just say $10 million. It either comes out of your cash, the cash reserves now. That is, I guess, a cost to those property owners, or you spread it out over 5 or 10 years. And I guess I would think that the actual cost is that interest. I mean, it's costing you whatever it is,
Yeah.
but somewhere between 600,000 and a couple of million over that time.
Yeah.
So
like-
other than the interest being, there's no additional cost of borrowing it versus paying cash. So is
No.
that what you,
Now, there is you mean cost to the taxpayer or cost to the city?
well, cost to both?
Well, what we're trying to do here is if we don't, the hard conversation is if we don't borrow the 10, then we can't do a lot of other projects. So does the city want to sacrifice and back ourselves into a corner? And then we have another, if we deplete our A-tax fund, our state A-tax, our muni, and, we were talking about hitting the hospitality, and then take the beach renourishment fund down to $2 million, we've got no money to do, Donnie's work, drainage projects, all this other stuff. We backed ourselves because ATAX money funds everything. Well, not everything, but it funds, it's a contributor to our deficits in our general fund and things of that nature that we have to cover. So we've got,
But it's really, I guess I'm wanting to make the point that it's really a question of, do you want to spread this $10 million out over 5, 7, 10 years? Or do you not? Do you want to do it all at once and have the impact to your budget that it has if you deplete it all at once? The actual cost, though, of financing it is that interest and underwriting costs, those kind of, so I
well, yes
want
and
to.
no. Because the other side of this is if we keep money in our coffers for longer, we're also going to get interest income, which will help defray the interest cost.
Yeah.
If we're arbitraging that, it's going to defray it, but.
So I think I guess that's my point. It's almost sounding as though there is this cost to the residents if you borrow it. You got the same issue if you don't borrow it. It's depleting your existing fund. The cost difference is really that kind of run over time of paying the interest back versus the revenue that you make from sitting it in the bank. So I don't know that there's not really much of a cost difference. Is there?
I don't know that I'm following.
I feel like we're making the point that it costs money to borrow it, but I think it also costs basically the same amount to pay it in cash.
Well, it's not, I mean, if the city just pays, if we don't take on debt, I mean, we're gonna run out of money, but it's not gonna cost the residents anything immediately, right?
Right,
they're
not paying more in
I
tax
mean,
than
my
the residents are.
But-
tax bill is not gonna change. If we just pay this out of if we take this $10 million out of our general fund, my tax bill is gonna stay the same.
But if we borrow it without a millage increase, it's also going to stay the same. But it's cost us $2 million in interest,
Right.
which to Scott's point may get offset by the cash sitting in the bank has an offset.
Interest
in
income.
If our rate's 3.75 and we're getting
Yeah.
4 right now, then
I
Yeah.
mean, is it,
So it doesn't really cost any different theoretically.
So if-
It's
if
just,
we-
do you want to spread it out over time or do you want to take the hit all at once?
this de-risks our balance sheet significantly, but it puts a burden on the residents that we've essentially created that revenue stream we were trying to create to fund our beach by putting it on the backs of the property owners here
right.
to cover the deficit. We didn't
So-
do it, so now we got to do it.
So-
Or we don't do our projects. That's the box we placed ourselves in.
So is there a possibility or is it an option to pay it out of the general fund that we have and then think about taking on debt for something else? And if we need, I mean,
Our general funds are running a deficit every year that we have to cover with ATAX transfers into the fund to cover for police and fire. So we don't have the money in the ATAX, or in the general fund to do this.
I mean, we have it this year, or we have,
There's enough funds to cover it through other funds.
right?
Through other funds. With that, you're just taking all of your fund balances down to
Virtually.
where you were probably 5 years ago or 6 years ago. But, as we know, cost is continuously increasing, so there has to be some kind of avenue of keeping those funds healthy, which the city has become accustomed to, but also the city has seen healthy fund balances, and so taxpayers don't want to have their taxes increase with the city sitting on healthy fund
Right,
balances.
that's kind of my thing, is like how, I guess that's kind of where I'm going with this, is how do we justify, I've just looked at my tax bill, and right now on bonds, my tax bill has $115 a year. And so if we're gonna increase that to 300 and some, are we telling people that we're doing this when we have this pile of money that, how healthy do we need to be in order to justify making people,
Well, the pile of money that, it's that 50 million or 54, whatever we talked to, a lot of that's restricted. I mean, some of that's in the Marina Fund, some of that's in the general fund, some of that's in other funds that we really can't and shouldn't, and then we got our disaster recovery fund. So if you piecemeal that 50 out and look at the two ATACs, we're really looking at the two ATACs plus the beach preservation fund to fund this. And we're gonna have to, and if you saw those bar charts we presented at the council meeting a couple of weeks ago, it takes our, we can put them back up on the screen, but it takes our it takes our ATAX funds down to nothing. And then the other issue we're dealing with, Katie, is they don't replenish to, we're really gonna box ourselves in for the next one. We just don't have the revenue streams to do this, is the bottom line.
Yeah, the city would not be able to handle another beach renourishment in 8 years.
right.
If we deplete our fund balances down to nothing and something happens, anything happens, it's gonna be a lot hard to borrow with a balance sheet that's got no.
Well,
money
I
in
guess
it.
that was part of my question too, is that more risky if we were to, and I think that's what your answer is, is that if we postpone taking the debt and then, deplete bring our balance sheet down to not healthy, it makes then, if we needed some sort of emergency or whatever, if we needed to take on debt then they're not gonna be as excited to lend to us as they are now. Is that?
That
Is
is
that
a
true,
risk.
that they would not be, if we don't take debt now, is your point, Katie, correct?
Mhm.
And you pay it out of cash reserves, and we need the cash 2 years from now, are we less likely, or
Yeah,
do
are
we
we
get a
gonna be
less
paying
favorable?
at a higher rate or?
You'd have to look at our cap structure at the time, and I guess what I'm more concerned about is if we deplete all these funds down to the bare bone, then we can't, the fire trucks, the personnel, our workforce, our public safety, I just,
What's
all
the
of these-
downstream effect of depleting the
Yes.
fund?
we're really, we've got millions of dollars of requests. We haven't even got to the 10-year capital plan conversation, but you go across the board here and we've got, I don't know, $15 million worth of capital requests across the board in this, in this year, and I don't know how we're gonna do that. I don't know what the total number is. We gotta get the totals. but
Right.
yeah, it's just, if we deplete our funds for the next several years, we're boxed in on multiple projects and
Yep.
improvements.
General reaction to the idea of there being a 10-year plan here when we know the sand is only planned to last 8 years? I have a,
I'm with you.
okay.
You want,
Is somebody
that's why I
agreeable?
did the 7, because kind of those were just arbitrary picks. We could.
Are you all agreeable we delete the 10 years is
10?
even an option?
Yeah.
I'd just show it, but,
Yeah.
Philosophically,
I was Scott.
It's gonna
I'd
really
show
hurt
it,
to
but-
be,
yeah.
it's gonna really hurt to be paying for
sand that's long gone.
It's
Well,
Right.
and here's the other side of that, though. When we went down to the Beach Advocates meeting this week, I don't know if you noticed this, Russ, or last week, and Douglas and Sean was there too. Or you were there, weren't you? No, you weren't there, okay. But Hilton Head's, they're extending their life of their beach. We're bringing ours back. They've gone from the 8 to 10 to talking about 12 because of the structures they've put in and the technology and how they're, the volumes that they're using, when we're looking at it completely
Right.
reverse because of where, the condition of our beach and how we're handling it.
Yeah.
So I'd love to get on the Hilton Head plan where we're looking at a 12-year cycle.
It's aspirational.
Yeah.
It is
But,
aspirational.
yeah, that is.
Well, and that's dependent on what we decide with the Olson
Exactly.
recommendations too.
But they're off
Yeah.
a ways, yeah.
Yep.
But for
We'll
this
leave it on
one,
there.
for
I mean,
this
what we saw
time-
down there was impressive. I know we're getting off on another subject, but, it's,
It's the view of the possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does seem like 7 is probably the most,
Okay.
the easiest
Well,
to
we'll leave it
stomach.
in.
I'm guessing if we customize, if we could do an 8, couldn't we, Deborah, if we asked them for an 8? We can do any term.
I think so.
Yeah, I can drop 8 in there. This is from our budget thing, so we can.
These are good for illustration. It's just kind of.
Let's just leave it.
Yeah, this just
Deborah,
gives
as
you a
we
good
got it
idea.
now,
Yeah.
so.
So it sounds like, Deborah, from your, if you were to set this out as a way to have like the perfect, the healthy financial balance sheet, that taking out the 10 million would be, and then paying it through a millage increase, or paying it, if the city pays for it without a millage increase, that's going to take our fund balances down too, right? I mean,
That is correct.
in that case, we're just paying for it over time.
We're just paying for it over time. And you're
Um,
still going to be left with the fact that the beach fund is not growing the way it should grow to cover the next project, and then we'll be at the table. Somebody will be at the table 8 years from now.
In a much weaker stance, because they won't have the beach fund. Right? I mean.
Yes, I think that's
Not
I
as-
correct.
mean, we'll
If
be
we're-
looking at
I
in
think-
8 years from now, we're gonna be looking at a $45 million project, and we're not gonna have a beach fund, and yikes.
Yeah. There'll be a beach fund, it just won't be.
It won't be.
What you need.
Right.
Yeah, the pay it out of cash scenario, maybe we should just include that slide with all these discussions. It's pretty dire when you look at what's out on the horizon in terms of our general fund, our beach fund balances, kind of, I would
That's
say all
helpful.
of it. So maybe that's a
It's a helpful.
Yeah, for
A
the-
slide,
yeah,
we
for the
just-
sake of comparison and for everybody,
Well, and
this is
that-
on the agenda for tomorrow night, right?
yes.
And that also brings us to the discussion of hard structures, and, because, I mean, it doesn't seem like. this-
Sand retention techniques.
Sand retention techniques, there we go. That sounds way better. It doesn't sound like 8 years from now, this is a conversation that, this meeting's gonna be a lot harder in 8 years than it is right now, and it's not easy right now.
Yep. Agreed.
Right. And remember, those sand retention techniques
Aren't free.
aren't free.
That's right. Good point.
All right, so we'll have this, I think I have 6 takeaways to kind of add on to this discussion. I think I've gone over them all. We'll have a broader discussion with all of council tomorrow night, and we'll just keep working on it.
So that brings us, on that happy note, to our 10-year capital plan.
Y'all want
It's
to come join
pages
us?
19 to 21 in our packet, I believe.
Good timing,
We don't have any money.
Yeah,
Anything. So welcome. This will be fun.
So what we've done in the other committee meetings is we have let the department heads drive their requests. So they will talk about their needs and what they would like to have in the upcoming year. So we can start with Robert.
Sure. Okay. So what I would like to do is we had, and it's hard for me to read this new sheet because it is really small.
Can I ask a
What
question
page?
to just, on the future ones, can we subtotal by the department and then have the totals at the bottom so we can see this, like, the whole amount that we're looking for?
They should be subtotal, but they're not subtotal at the bottom?
Maybe I'm missing it.
it might be light.
Like below general, I see below general government, it was like, are we looking at column J2, by the way?
Correct.
J? Okay. So into the 2027, and then I think I see, okay, the 110,
110,000.
but then under, if I go down to Public Works, I got a 430, 37, 60, where, maybe I'm missing, it. Is the total on the other? Oh, I see, okay, it's very light, never mind. 5 million, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
What,
So-
what line are you?
So what this does, what this new schedule does is, this kind of takes our old capital schedule, and the ones that are grade are, we don't want those numbers to pull over into the actual model because they're totals. And the other numbers that are grade, we showed them on here because they're large dollar amounts, but they're really not capital items. Like these trash cans, it's just a large purchase. It's not what we deem as something that we would capitalize and depreciate over a period of time. So when you see something that's grayed out, it's for your knowledge, but not for us not to pull it over into the rest of the data.
Will that show up in an operating budget?
Yes, it will. Sorry, Robert, go ahead.
No, that's fine. So I guess our sheets are the same, Deborah. I'm not sure if they're looking at exactly the same stuff.
Your total is 5175668, is that?
Column J, Robert?
Yeah.
Column J, top of, for our package,
Yeah, I don't-
page 20.
I'm missing a page here.
Okay.
Flip it over.
Oh, there we go. That would help. So, J, where am I?
Check numbers.
Yours may have
J8.
changed a little bit, Robert.
5175068, or 668.
Yeah, I don't have that in J.
What do you
It-
have?
Tell you what.
Nothing really, just the last line item just says 575,000. I don't know what.
Let me go over Robert's, because we changed a lot of stuff
Yeah,
on
that's what
Robert's.
it's a little bit of
Okay,
a.
so Robert is really only asking for, not Robert, but the Public Works. Public Works is really only asking for a new CDL 11-yard rear loader.
Under CDO.
Under CDL rear loader. And that's $220,000. Do y'all have that on there, on your sheet?
I don't see it.
I don't see it either.
Public Works Department?
Yes.
Is there a line item on the left number, like I see rows 153, 154?
159, is that on yours?
159 on mine is a 2021 Mack flatbed PW 21 FY 36.
Okay,
Right.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah, and it's not color coded at all. It's just,
Why don't we
This is the
defer
sheet
this
that Deborah-
conversation then until,
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there, but that's really the only thing that they're asking for. They have deferred a lot of things this year in order to replace that truck. They lost the truck this year. They they were supposed to get a truck with a hopper for $68,000, and then they were gonna replace some 4-inch water pumps for $20,000. None of that is happening this year. So that's gonna help contribute towards the price of this $220,000 truck. And then the only other thing that
So
they.
those are on here, that's lines 164.
So they won't do that. That's
And
that's in this year's
169.
budget, but they are not gonna do that in
So
order
those come
to
out
get this truck, because they lost a truck.
where are you seeing that?
164 and 169?
I see 164 on mine is a hopper for 2016 Ford 350.
Yeah, and that's
Mm-hmm.
68,000.
But that's the only thing that Public Works is asking for,
So it's it's how much, 200?
$220,000.
Yeah,
I should think, I just don't have it in the packet.
and Deborah, we would be pushing that automated side loader from FY '27 to FY '28 also.
Yes. So they don't, I don't know if y'all
and that
see
would be 220,
220, yes.
Can you make
and that would be under J8.
6 copies of all those?
J8. Repeat that, Rusty, I'm sorry.
Column J,
Column-
2027.
Yeah.
Yes,
20, okay.
Yes.
J8, okay.
yes. And they originally budgeted for a rear end loader in 2027. They are going to defer that to 2028, just so they can buy the smaller truck.
And that would be a side loader in 2028.
So what is the, like, when I'm looking at lines like 150, 151, and 152, Do you have these, is that the same, or you have these Mac?
That was this year. They bought that
Yeah.
this year.
So those are done.
Those are done, yes, ma'am. They
Okay.
bought those this year. One truck, they bought one truck. So the way, one truck and it was $310,000. It's
Yes.
just split up into where the funding
Oh, I
came
gotcha.
from, where the
The
funding
the
came
only
from.
column we're looking at now is 2027, right?
That's
Jay?
correct, yeah,
Okay.
because
Okay,
2026 is gone.
so that,
This print's so.
I know.
I know.
Wait on, it's gonna get everybody the same page, and
I don't know if it's gonna be bigger though.
I think you will.
Okay. And then the other question for Robin and Douglas is, we currently have 131 budget for Dominion. Is that something we need to continue? That 131,000 for the underground?
Yes.
178.
131 are we continuing that?
Yes, I think we would want to budget for that,
Budget for
in
that?
case we can do a project.
Okay.
That's 177.
177 on ours.
Okay, so the rest of the stuff should be, it should be the same, hopefully, maybe it's one line off. But we're continuing to do the $100,000 for just contingency drainage. That hasn't changed. The $250,000, I think that has been, is that
New
new?
comprehensive plan?
Yes, the comprehensive plan of $250,000. Okay, and then there's some design work for the next large project of 100,000 for Myrtle in 19. That's new. So the drainage project for 38th and 41st has been deferred. And we're now pushing it to 2027. And we're increasing the price, so now it's.
Yeah, this is bad news for the city, that in part of our budgeting process now has been to go back, get these estimates updated. Thomas and Hutton is estimating, and it's line 184 on my sheet. That project, we've been carrying an estimate of $2 million. They have told us that it's more like a $5 million project. It's like 4.9. So we have talked to them about different options to address that, and they have indicated it's an easily phased project. If we chose to do, what we could kind of afford by year, we could do that. But yeah, this is a big change from what we've previously seen.
What's the 2.2 million on J8?
So I is the old, because I is the 1.85 is in this year's budget. We didn't do it.
Right.
So the 2.2 and the 3 total up to the 5, I
Oh,
think,
okay. Okay.
plus the soft costs of engineering.
Got it. Okay.
So that's the jump from being basically a $2 million project to a $5 million.
Came up with the 5, so it's just split between the 2
Yeah.
years
Split in the 2 years.
because
So
of the
we're
phasing.
we're comparing budget, these are budgeted numbers from '26.
Yes,
Oh.
I is the budgeted, that's the budget of 26. And then
So
J,
it's the same, it doesn't say in the note, but that's the same number for '27. This is fiscal '27, correct?
correct.
But it's not an additional to, we can't be adding sideways, I guess.
That is correct.
We didn't spend the 1.8.
That is correct.
Right, so
Yeah.
we're adding, we're changing it, we're
Moving
deferring
that
it.
over.
Mhm.
Yeah, it might be helpful to put that in the
We're
note.
increasing the amount because of inflation.
So
Costs
what,
going
so
up.
what we're
not-
saying on the drainage improvement between 38th and 41st is if we approve this, we'd have an initial capital budget of $2.2 million, but that would be for just one phase.
That would do the first half of the project,
Right.
basically, correct,
So the whole project's gone from 1.8 to 4, 5?
to 5.
5.2.
Ay, ay, ay.
Yeah, 4.9 construction, and I think we're saying 300,000 of
Did it
other
change?
costs. It did change a little bit. I mean, I don't think that it changed to a point, and we have been carrying the same 2 million or 1.85 for several years now.
I think it was 1.1 initially. Like in 2023, I think it was
Yeah,
1.1.
Should've done it then.
And then we increased it.
All right, thank you. It has not materially changed. We moved it back and forth. I don't know if you recall, but we shifted it across the road to account for the the sewer expansion line and basin in. We've then shifted it back. So it's changed over time, but I don't think any part of the change justifies the
Just a.
2.5 times
I'll
increase.
keep that one too, sure. No, that's okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Wade
And
on.
this is for Palm Boulevard from.
Palm Boulevard,
48,
yep.
like 4 blocks.
I mean, don't we need to revisit the whole project? If it's a 5X, I mean, it's gone from 1 to 2 to 5, I think we got to really take a step back and decide whether are there other projects that we can get done for less money that have more, how much bang for the buck does this have versus, I don't know. We got to start figuring out how to address this runaway train of escalating costs that we can't just rebudget it at 3 times the amount without some kind of an impact. We got to either find revenue streams for this stuff or revisit these projects when they have this kind of slidage. So, I mean, what do you think, Robert?
No, I mean, I agree. It's,
We can't-
well, that's
We can't just
everything. Even,
say, oh, geez, it's $5 million, now let's do it.
well, even these trucks, the automated side loaders, I was just told, oh, because of a new engine model, these things could increase $20,000 to $30,000 next year. So it's out of control, but yeah, I don't personally know.
So in this drainage, we also have $1 million state budget allocation that's included in that too, right?
That is
Yeah.
correct. Yeah, and I think that we had talked about using that $1 million.
And 200,000. We have 200,000 from
That's all we have, is 200,000?
if we use the rest for waterway.
Okay.
I think we got to
So
I'm
we're
sorry.
talking 1.2 million.
That we have kind of outside of our, well, I guess the state allocation is in our budget, but that's not city money per se.
Yeah, I think on all of these, I mean, maybe the best thing to do is just go through and get a explanation at this point, but we've got to bake these all into what this is going to do to our fund balances going forward in light of everything else we've got happening. And some of these projects, we might just have to, I hate to say it, but take off the board for a while until we can figure out how we're going to spend, the money to get us where we need to be on this.
Yeah.
Or find new revenue streams.
What is this drainage? What exactly, what are we doing?
So this is, there is an existing major drainage pipe and ditch running down 41st Avenue. It ends pretty close to Palm. So this is tying into that system at the end of 41st and Palm, and then extending it around the corner up Palm Boulevard to 38th Avenue. So that has been, that's kind of the first area that
And this is putting in a pipe?
yes, this is putting in pipes
There's
underground.
ditch there, or is there not?
There's nothing.
There's no ditching?
Yeah, so there's nothing there now. It pools, it causes the road to close on occasion. It also would allow us over time to extend it. That section of Palm just has no infrastructure until about 32nd, Robert, where does,
Yeah, that's where.
30, so from 32nd to 41st, there's no drainage infrastructure, and you can tell, it's pooling,
They did the same thing on they just got tired of drainage up in that area.
Yeah.
They did the same thing on Forest Trail. It was just like.
just
oh,
stop the system.
Yeah.
So this
We
would,
just don't believe in drainage.
The last major drain is right there at the corner of 41st. where you
did.
have
That's
a
correct.
90-degree
They're
turn.
sick of digging holes.
that's
And
correct.
this takes it up to 38th.
That's
So-
correct. So we still will
so
have a
that sitting
gate.
stormwater would be taken care of. by
That's correct.
5.2 million.
But that was not, the man we had on earlier this morning, who talked about
Jim?
that money that we could get
Yeah, I mean,
now But that wasn't
Scott's,
drainage, that was sewer and potable water, right?
Oh, I think drainage.
yeah, potentially drainage as well. And maybe to Scott's point, maybe we pause to see, what kind of federal money. We can start to
I have
see.
written down EPA earmarks for anything for this year if we had something. But
Yeah, and this one's ready to, this one is
And I
kind of
have-
shovel ready,
I
so.
have only drinking and sewer. Maybe, anyway,
He said it's stormwater, I mean, is that under the
That was for
stormwater
the-
management?
that was for the continuing
Hope so.
Oh, the
authority.
CP, oh, yeah, that continuing authorization, authorities program.
Anyway, but I mean.
We'll have him check into that.
Yeah, that'd be nice if we could find some money somewhere. But we do have $1 million from the state.
We have $1
Yes.
million from the state.
On hand.
We have,
Could we go back to Boyd and Jimmy, and ask them to see if there's any additional fund? I mean, it is earmark time. Or, I'm sorry, community project time.
Don't use earmark. Federal, you can use earmark, not state. But we had budgeted 1.8. Does that 1.8 that we had in the budget include the state money?
Yes.
yes,
So the city was originally contemplating spending 800,000,
that's correct.
and now if we were to move this to this coming year, 2.2, so basically, we said
A
we have about
million.
1.2 from the state, so the city's actual
Would be $1 million, yes.
$1 million.
But the whole project goes to, or if it's a $5 million project now and it was a $2 million, our piece goes up almost to $4 million.
And is
On
there
an apple to
anything
apple.
we can do to make the project less expensive?
I don't think so. I think, we did include $1 million request through Jim for this project, so that would be $1 million if we were successful there. From talking with Thomas and Hutton, our options are to just phase it. Apparently, it's very easily phased, but I don't know that there's any other, and I do think it would be, if we were to extend it from 41st to 39th, I think it still would have a meaningful impact to drain. I think it would be picking up new low points. Hopefully, it would improve the entire area by having drains in those basins, but
So is the question we want to really ask is what can we get for 1.8 to keep our budget the way it was? And not, because we don't have another $4 million hanging around or $3 million.
It would also be interesting to know how it went from 1.85 to 5.2.
Good question, Rusty.
I mean,
Yeah, that's what I mean, I know that things have increased, I'm not telling that. I mean, that's a lot.
yeah,
I mean, are we putting like gold pipes in?
I mean, I think that's the obvious first question you ask.
That is-
How did this
With you
how did this
100%,
go
Rusty.
from $1.9 million basically to 5.2?
And do we have a lot more of these baked into our budget this year of escalations? that
I
have
think
come?
we've got, I think of all our major projects, we do not, we have heard the same thing from Philip, who was here earlier. Like, hey, we're carrying a very old budget number. So that could be one, and I think we're working on getting that number updated. I don't think we have another project that we're not kind of constantly, now getting readily updated. I mean, beach renourishment, we've, waterway path. We do have that phase 3 that's in an out year. That's kind of a theoretical budget number, but I think all of the other projects, we feel better and we've been updating those amounts. I don't think we have another one out there like this.
We've been carrying this on the capital project list for years now.
That's correct.
Yeah. So we've either just not revised what the actual cost is going to be, going from 1.8 to 5.2, or we had bad numbers to begin with.
So this project originated when we did what we called the high-impact internal projects. So before we did any outfalls, the original number now is probably 8 years old. And we went back and looked, and we had updated it for inflation, but it was not a design, it wasn't a fully designed project. So it went from very much kind of a placeholder theoretical number, and now it's been fully designed. And a lot of time has passed, so.
So the next,
So do we, do we want to leave 2.2 in there for the time being? You want to push it out? Do you want to just asterisk it for a future conversation? What do you want to do with that?
I mean, I don't think we have $5 million hanging around, so I
I
think
mean,
we've got to.
can we, if we were to do I mean, we budgeted 1.8.
Let's put that in.
And didn't use it. And now it's, we're saying we have it's 2.2, and we have 1.2 from the state money, so that's $1 million. I
Well,
mean,
you asked the right question a while ago. What can
we get for that? And or what would happen, like, let's say we decided to do the absolute high-end 2.2 in 2027, and then are we locked into doing the next half in 2028, or can we put that off to?
No, we would do it so there was a
20 or,
complete
like, we
project.
could do it whenever we could afford it.
Right.
I'd prefer again, till we solve for everything else, I'd prefer to just, if we want to drop the 185 and move it over for now, and just leave that and say, we're going to try to make a project fit that.
So change
Yeah, I
out
mean,
2.2 with 185,
And see what we can get for it.
and then, so now we're going to have a remaining balance of 3.1. Do we put that like 2 years out?
I mean, I guess
Shift
I'm
that
looking
to
at it as like,
28?
is this something where are we talking about like we can do one block at a time, kind of? Like, if we did it, is 1.8 gonna get us
I can find out how
one or
far
two
one,
blocks?
I can find that out.
And then we just do it, we keep it, I guess, I hate to say we're not gonna do it this year, but also, it's been something that we've been talking about doing for 8, 10 years. So,
I think it
kind
wants,
of like, what's the drawback of putting it out another year or two? Or can we do just the small part? Do we have to use that state money, or does that go away?
yeah, so
it does have a timeline on it. I need to
Let's
find out.
find out what that is.
Yeah, I need to find out what timeline it is on
that's
it.
got to be near its expiration date, I would.
They haven't been, we haven't had a hard time getting
Yeah.
extensions on any of the grant money, so we can definitely.
But if we walked away from this project, if we just removed it, it would go away.
That
It-
million.
we probably
We'd have to
could-
pay
we-
that back.
Well, we could
Or we
probably
could
move it to
transfer.
a different, we have to ask for permission to move it to a
Okay.
different drainage project. But I don't know, sometimes they're okay with that, and then, you just don't know.
And I don't think we could look at other projects, but there is nothing elaborate or complex about this project. So
Okay, I
if
got a
we,
wild question. If we can move it to another drainage project, what if we move this one out a couple of years at the 1.85 or whatever? Could we put it to the waterway to defray our cost on that one this year?
Deborah, didn't you already ask that on another
She
bucket of money?
So we had $1.2 million that we received and we're using for waterway. You want to also use the 1 million for waterway?
Again, I'm looking at what we're up against, and
I
I
have
just
to
don't think we
ask.
can afford these $5 million chunks of change order. And if we could, this would really help us if we could take that, if we can just move this out for a future year discussion, use the $1 million grant and defray the bust that we just had over on Waterway, that would help us out, I think, financially, quite a bit. And I know they're two separate grants, but if it's now a drainage project over on Waterway, and all of a sudden we pick up $1 million.
We do have, yep, so I think we can do that, right?
Yeah,
Deborah?
yes, I'll ask and get
Okay.
permission and see whether we can or not.
And I don't like not doing this for the residents and everybody impacted down there, but maybe there are some other flood mitigation things we could use that help them.
Has
you know.
has that gotten, we haven't really had a true test, but we did 41st now has those check valves, and the ditch is nice and clean, and, I mean,
And what about on Palm
is that
Boulevard?
gonna, I mean, that should help that area, right?
This is just not getting to it, because there's no infrastructure, so it's just sitting in a bowl without any means of getting there.
241st,
And along Palm Boulevard, there are a lot of those, there used to be the old water retention ditches there. They're not drainage, but they're water retention. A lot of those are all filled in. Does that impact anything by having those filled in? Does that roll off the water or?
The ones that you've seen, like residents filling in and piping, actually, I don't think any are actually filled in, they've been piped.
Well, you see, I think there's some filled in. Maybe I'm mistaken. Might want to take a walk down there,
Sure.
double check. But I think, yeah, some where there was, I didn't think there was any piping on ocean side of Palm. Those are just retention, water
No,
retention.
there's pipes over
some
there.
piping over
Yeah.
there?
But
Right,
those don't,
maybe-
that doesn't go down, that doesn't go past,
32nd.
Okay.
32nd's the far side of those.
All right. I'm
Yeah, they
probably
all
just having
kind of lead all the way out to an outfall. So
Okay.
either the 28th, 25th, 23rd.
Okay, never mind then. I thought some of them.
Okay, so what we're doing, okay, so we're gonna move, 2027, 2028 out future years. We're gonna hold off on that project. Is that what we're saying?
I think
we
that's,
kind of have to
I
for
think we
now.
do, at
and-
least
and
a year.
We want to make sure that we don't lose that $1 million grant.
right?
And we're
And
gonna
then-
ask to have it reclassed to a
Yeah, we
different.
need to find out about the $1 million grant
Okay,
first,
that's kind of the-
and how we
Yeah.
can use
Yeah, that's
that.
kind of the first.
And if
yeah.
they can move it over to Waterway, and we can,
But if we're gonna lose that money,
We need to use it.
then
this
we
year.
need to go to Thomas and Hutton and say, what can we do?
what can we
for-
do?
Mm-hmm.
So would
Originally
there,
budgeted 1.8 or,
would the group be agreeable? We have in our request to our lobbyist, 2.8 total. 1.8 to go to Waterway, 1 to go to this project. Would you be agreeable to to basically budget for the project, but have in parentheses if, whatever they call them, earmarks?
Contingent
or
on
s-
the community project.
Contingent on an earmark.
heck yeah.
and it covers it.
We can get the state to pay for it. Let's do it.
And then in the meantime, we'll ask this question, if we're not successful there, can we apply our balance to the Waterway project?
Yeah.
So we'll get that answer as well.
Okay. And Robert, I guess you raised the point, or maybe you did too, Katie, do we need to just, since this was budgeted years and years ago before all those other projects got completed, is there still a problem there?
Yeah,
I mean, that would be a great question to answer before we go spend.
yeah, I mean,
money. Do we still-
that section doesn't have the infrastructure.
Yeah, that would not be
That's-
improved by,
Yeah, it just.
because there's just no infrastructure, there's
Right,
no way
just-
for it
Well,
to
that
get to.
water's, yes and no. I mean, my street doesn't have drainage either, but obviously that water is not in a really efficient way, but it's making it somewhere to some, it goes away after a couple of days. So it's going somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, the sandy
the
soil, yeah, will infiltrate.
But we don't,
yeah.
we don't have
Yeah, you
ditches.
don't-
Behind your house.
We don't have a ditch behind our house. Our
Unless it's got-
official drainage is the street, that's all we got. And there's, I mean, it's a hole. So like, but my point is it possible that
We could,
maybe,
we'll
I
ask
mean,
the
we haven't
question.
had a bad,
Yeah.
we haven't been able to test to see what really the effect of 41 ditch is, because we've been fortunate to not have a huge flooding
Flash
event,
floods,
which,
yeah.
so I mean,
We'll ask that question.
but I mean, I kind of feel like that's another reason to defer this, is just to see if maybe there's been some miraculous.
I'm good with that.
Change in the
I'm
infrastructure.
totally- Yeah,
I
I'm
mean-
totally good with that, yeah.
It all flows together, you know, it all flows together somewhere, somehow.
Okay.
That would help us out with this fiscal year.
So Katie, you back up to Sparrow Drive on your back,
Uh-huh.
there's a ditch behind your house. It's not a ditch that you see, but it's a depression. Douglas, the house with the pool, and the newer house with the pool house built
Yep,
There, you know, remember the,
yeah, and,
there's an easement with a swell.
and Forest Trail, I mean, there's a whole entire network, and that entire network, to your point, has been alleviated. It's,
Right.
so,
I mean, that's-
but this is not connected in any way. It's an independent basin low point that's sitting out there, but we can certainly ask Thomas and Hutton if there could be any connection between the work that's been done and improving this area. We could ask them to do that.
I mean, for those reasons, if we can put it off another year, I feel like that's
Okay, the next.
a lesser of the evils.
Are we ready?
Yep.
Okay, so the 198,000, that's just, our regular routine.
What line are you on, Deborah?
That's the one that's grayed out. It's,
What
I'm
line?
sorry, 186.
186 on one of the.
That has always shown on the, capital. That is actually, a operating expense, and that's just regular, the ditch maintenance. And then the other big project is Waterway. This is phase 3 of Waterway. That's $1.7 million. Those are the numbers that we talked about, over the last month. And that, I think that's all Robert had. Robert, is that all for Public Works?
Yes.
I mean, that's the line item 187, that's the work that we're having the construction meeting for tomorrow, correct? Or no?
I don't know.
That is that project, so why, so it's 520 because that's what's gonna be after, correct?
No.
Line 188
Yeah.
is 520, correct? In 26?
Yes.
And that is 520 because it'll,
You talking, yeah, that's, you
Are
talking
you on
about
187
26.
or 188?
188.
188. Yeah, that's budgeted. That was the budget for 2026. That made up the $2 million for, that's just splitting the funds.
That's just saying where,
80
it's the same project
187.
is where it's coming
Yeah,
from.
it's just splitting the funds.
Oh, gotcha. 187, 188, yep, got it.
Before the capital project, remember there were like 2 sheets? It showed you the funds, and then it would show you what they were. This just kind of combines everything, to just make it a little less sheets of paper. So yes,
So that's what we're spending currently, and then we're expecting to, and then another 1.7 next year.
yes, ma'am.
And that's what we're gonna ask the state if we could put that other million into that.
Yeah, and that includes construction and design. Thomas and Hutton and whoever's doing the project. I can't remember. Now we're moving on to rec. I want to make sure, I didn't miss anything, Robert, right?
No,
Okay.
no, that was it.
And that's going,
Is there a new truck and building before we go to rec?
Yes.
I think you start here.
Where's Bellin?
Building
I
was-
think that's the only thing in,
Where we at?
Okay, ready, go.
Can we get another year out of that truck?
Whose truck?
I can report back. I don't think so.
We're experiencing a lot of maintenance costs on
Yeah.
our truck.
That has been kind of a lemon, that truck.
It has been a limit.
Yep.
And that truck has been pushed back 2 years already.
Oh, okay.
Where is that?
The
What
Chevy,
line are you?
He's-
2018.
He's looking at building department, I think.
Yeah, we were skipping right to rec. It was 45,000 for that truck.
Yeah. He was looking at line,
And the building department right above
What
where
one?
it's at. I don't even know.
190.
191, the 191 truck. Line 191 is what he was.
That's hidden in it.
Yeah, you don't have it on
I don't
yours.
have one.
Oh, because we weren't dealing
With that.
building today. Okay.
Okay, so are we good? We good? Okay. The 20,000 is what we do every year. It's a if failure for scoreboard, playground equipment, so we just usually leave that in there with a if to use. We added the 60,000 for IT video conferencing or live streaming in the Magnolia Palmetto Room. Can I go back? And that's.
Oh, real quick.
What is
That's-
involved in that?
Okay.
Upgrade
So
IT.
that is, from my understanding, more of a request for town hall type meetings, city council meetings that would take place at the rec center. It's a little bit of a different infrastructure than what you have here. It can't stay out all the time, so it gets a little creative. We have to be a little bit more mobile. And that's just because how we use that room for summer camps, gymnastics, if we
Yeah.
have a festival. So, we just.
Gotta be in and out.
Correct.
Yep.
Which makes it a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, that, having public meetings down there's always been very challenging when it came to IT. None of the, if we try to live stream a video, if we try to, it's being done off of hotspots and it's really cobbled together. And I think generally the facility, and I guess it's because of its construction, is,
Concrete and steel.
yeah, is IT challenged, so that would fix that.
Did we ever look into the whole Wi-Fi, getting Wi-Fi?
So I'm still getting prices. I think the most expensive thing would be the cabling, to run the cable. But I'm supposed to get him prices and I haven't.
Doesn't Uverse go by there? Doesn't AT&T Uverse go right down the street?
May now.
It might now down 28, I think.
It does.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I guess you gotta get it
But
from,
they're doing fiber right to the home, so, shouldn't, I mean, another conversation, but I think we gotta look at the whole IT telecom. I saw some emails going back and forth about the cost of the 50 meg upgrade, which I don't know why we'd even be talking about a 50 meg upgrade. And it seemed like that's just, we should be talking gigabits. And, I think we got a real cost opportunity here on all that stuff. You can get gigabit service for a couple $100, or not even,
Yeah, I think we may need to divorce each other in terms of the buildings being tied together. We are very hamstrung in this when we tie each other together because we have existing fiber optic lines that are for networking purposes, but it does seem as though that hamstrings are, it's challenging. So-
Slowing us down who are further away.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
sometimes you get into a legacy situation, you keep investing in legacy, and it's time to just
Yep.
shed, and I think we got a lot of opportunity.
Yeah.
So we should leave that on here, but ask the right questions.
Yeah, we can dive deeper on
Yep.
this, yeah.
Moving down the list, we have replacing the 4 outdoor basketball goals, and that's just a time, they're 10 years old, scheduled replacement.
Which line are you on?
219. We skipped, we deferred a couple things. 220 would be the picnic shelter construction and design for 92. We added exterior lighting upgrades, 25, and that's just to take our existing, we have, some lighting outside on the building and along that sidewalk, and that's just to improve that lighting.
the picnic shelter, is that adding a new one? What did we decide on that? Or is it just
That was
making
one of
the
those
other one-
community,
The
Is
community
it making it
enrichment.
bigger, or is it adding a new one, or?
Our hope is to probably make it bigger and just redesign that to what we're using it for today. Classes, 7 months out of the year, we're using it for special events. So really making sure that when we design it, that a band might fit better under there, and that idea.
And then the roof,
And then the roof, yes.
is that,
That was based on a quote that we got last year, and I got a gentleman come out last week from that same company, so we're gonna get an updated price, like new, not
And
last
is
year's
that-
quote.
Is it leaking? Is it?
That is to replace,
But-
or to fix places that, yes, would be leaking, and just general maintenance on a 20-year-old roof. And even older for the gymnasium, so it's kind of both where need.
Thank you, Kara. I think that's it for capital. Chairwoman, can I circle back, please? Okay, so that you guys asked some questions regarding pledging, and got an answer from David. The pledging is if we need to increase the millage, but we do not have to increase the millage if there is another source of revenue. And the interest rate is not based on whether we increase the millage or not. And then the 8% for future years, that's all driven based on the assessed value of property taxes. So it should not go down. Our borrowing power should not go down 8 years if we take all of our fund balance now to use, because it's based on,
The revenue, the revenue stream
It's
potential.
not based
Yes.
on our fund balance.
or it's based on the revenue rate of property taxes. So I think that was 3 of the questions you guys
I
had.
think so. So does that mean
Still deciding.
roll the dice and spend the money now and borrow later?
I don't know. I know what I would do, but it's a balance sheet situation. And I'm not saying that millage is the right answer. We just need to figure out as a city where we're gonna get the money. We don't have the streams anymore to do all of it.
Yes.
Anything in Front Beach or Marina that we haven't hit already?
I'm sorry. I think nothing has been added to Front Beach. This is Front Beach. Robert, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think we said that we were going to do anything that we hadn't already planned for Front Beach.
That's correct. Yeah, there's nothing that's changing.
There is something for Marina, though. We initially budgeted for parking lots and green space. And this year, here we go. So this year, we said we were going to do 150 and.
What line, Deborah?
278.
78.
It's like the last page.
And that's great.
Page 21
Yeah.
of the packet.
And it's grayed out because Marina is, it's an enterprise fund. It's kind of wonky on, how we do our other funds. So the 150 for green space and parking lot was budgeted this year. That parking lot project has increased. So I think we're going to spend some money this year. And I think, are we going to spend all of it this year?
No,
All of it's happening
all of it
this-
next year,
Well, no.
All of it next year.
other than maybe design fees, design work.
So is that 300 enough, or is it going to be five?
Well, you've got I think you have 300 and 150 for a total of 450. I think,
And that includes the green space and the parking altogether. That's,
Yes.
okay.
yeah, I would suggest we put that at 500
Make it even five.
but include that design cost, some potential drainage work. And I think I would put it all on the parking lot.
No green space.
Yeah.
Take the green space away.
No, I
Okay.
thought we.
Well, it would, and maybe you just put it in one line item,
Yeah.
green space and parking lot for 500.
Gotcha.
We
yeah.
haven't really had them separated out.
I'm sorry, can we go back to beach? Where's the beach reimbursement? Did I miss that? Maybe I'm.
That's,
I'm looking for a 30-something million. Or 20, after 20 on our side. I mean, I just don't see it.
Beach comes after, let's see. Am I missing a sheet?
didn't see it on this one.
Beach.
Because I think we decided at the last conversation.
257 is beach maintenance and monitoring their access, but that doesn't,
Right.
It's going to be it's going to straddle 26, 27.
Oh, yeah, that line has been removed because I was thinking it was all happening this year. So I need to put that back in there. It's on lines 266. I just need to put the number back. 266, 267.
oh, yeah, large scale.
It's in 2035, but I need to put it back in. And speaking of the groins, are we going to, so I'll put I think we said that we were gonna, at least for the beach project, maybe do 1/3 this year, and then so 2/3 would be budgeted for next year, for FY '27.
That's correct.
And then, so then that leaves us with the groins of 2028, okay.
I do like calling them sand retention
Okay.
structures, just because they could be breakwaters, it could be
Right.
groins, it could be
Yeah.
it could be some other geotubes, it could be all kinds of different things
Yeah.
that we haven't
Sand
considered
retention
historically.
structures, okay.
And
Where that sand trap, is that still?
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's sand retention
Traps,
Just sand retention?
methods,
sand retention methods,
structure might,
yeah, methodology, yeah.
geotubes.
methods, okay.
Creative.
Okay, so we'll leave that in 2028?
Sure.
Is that, okay. All right, so I'll break down that cost. That's when we talked about this has changed a little bit since the original, again, I had everything thinking it was happening this year.
Deborah, how do all these all these numbers we're plugging in because we're still keeping 26, 27, but some of the 26s and 27, do this all flow into the forecast? Is it connected to the fund balance projections, or are these separate models, or how does that all work? Because I'm trying to figure out how this would, or are these sort of independent for now?
These are independent for now. These are just
Okay.
budgets for now.
Okay.
When we get to the actual cover sheets, we'll use forecast numbers for 2026 budget wouldn't matter anymore, because we'll be using forecast numbers.
Well, the forecasted numbers should give us our jump-off point for our 27 fiscal year.
That's correct, and that's what we'll
So
be
these will all
using.
be updated with forecasts, the 26 numbers?
Yes,
Okay. So like the 1850 would be zero.
the 1850 would be zero. Or if we spent any, I don't know, I can't remember, have we spent any money on this year on 38th? Nothing? 38th?
design. We've had design costs.
Yeah, so it may not be zero, maybe a little something, but yes.
I was just wondering if they're not, you answer it, they're independent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's not,
That's yours.
okay.
You made notes.
Anything else?
That's enough.
Please say no. Anything?
Next meeting.
Scott's about to say something.
No, I'm not going to say anymore. Shutting up for now.
We'll see you all tomorrow.
Yeah,
We'll do it all over again.
all right. Motion to adjourn.
Next meeting. Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.